You know what? I respect women. I love women. I respect them so much that I completely stay away from them.
Hello and welcome once again to the Cine-Files, where each week we enter the world of a great film. We explore its themes, the history, the filmmaking, and the influence it has on us today. My name is Steve Morris. I'm a filmmaker and directing instructor in Los Angeles, California.
Oh, Kelly Clarkson. Hello, everyone. This is John Rocha. I'm a writer, producer, and voiceover host here in San Diego. Voiceover guy, here in San Diego, California. And man, I tell you what, Steve, we've been doing a lot of interesting films lately. And I suggest that we do this one because it was a 20-year anniversary. And I have to tell you, feels like it's going to be one of the most unusual run of episodes that we've ever done on the Cine-Files. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be something. And I'll tell you a little spoiler alert. It's given me a fair amount of anxiety how exactly we're going to approach this thing. But before we do, we of course need to shout out to all of our supporters on Patreon as well as Apple Podcasts. Thank you very much. We could not make the Cine-Files without you. And if you want to get ad-free versions of the show or listen to our Cine-Files short, I think this week's Cine-Files short is going to be on sports as related to movies, sports strategy and movie strategy. That's coming up on Patreon and Apple Podcasts. So definitely sign up there to support the show.
Yeah, and another way you can support us on the show, if you can't do the Patreon, is to use the codes for the ads that you hear during the commercial breaks for the show. If any of these products or any of these services appeal to you, when you hear us give you the code, please use the code because you'll get a discount on trying out the products, and B, you'll signal to these sponsors to keep sponsoring our show because you're enjoying their products. True Diagnostic was a really strong supporter of ours for a long time. Washington Red Raspberries. We have so many great supporters that come along, and hymns. So please make sure if it's something that applies to you that you use our code. You can get some money off of it, and you get to show that these clients that they should keep supporting us here on the Cine-Files.
And before we get into the 40-year-old virgin, I think that the only responsible choice we can make is to offer not one, not two, not three, but 4 separate trigger warnings, John. I have warnings for everybody. The first, of course, anyone who knows the title alone should tell you that to discuss this movie, we are going to have to discuss sexual situations of various kinds.
Yeah.
And so if you normally listen to this podcast with your 6-year-old, maybe you might want to reconsider that, or at least give your 6-year-old the same warnings I'm giving you. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that because we're talking about sexual situations and comedy about sex and gender roles, and there are lots of jokes in here that I'm going to give a little warning that we're going to talk about the appropriateness of jokes and exactly the thing that tends to piss people off because that starts to veer into politics. But I don't think we can seriously discuss this film without kind of getting into that conversation a little bit too. My third trigger warning is to my mom, because the reality is this movie hit real close to home for me. I'm not, in fact, a virgin. That is not the case.
God, I hope not. Yeah.
But you know, there was some things in this movie as a guy who is single and has not really gone out and started dating at all. And maybe my friends have various thoughts about that they may or may not have discussed with me that I kind of go, it kind of hit close to home. And my fourth and final trigger warning is to my partner, John Rocha, because those of you listening to this show are going to hear the lovely voices of Steve Carell and Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen saying these very, very funny lines, and Catherine Keener. And John gets to listen to me through his professional headphones, speak into my professional microphone as every filthy, horrible thing that is said in this film is going to come out of my mouth. So I am sorry about that, John.
No, it's quite all right. I'm looking forward to it.
Really?
I am. I'm looking forward to seeing how we navigate this, because we've been spending a lot of time, as I said earlier, really diving into the minutia and intelligence and complexities of Jaws and Superman, and even our conversations on Robert Redford. We veered into some very serious places in the films that he did with our talk last week. So the fact that we're opening the door to something like this is really unusual for us because we rarely kind of go into these places, but it's always fun to see what we can create in our unusual construct of a show with a film like 40-Year-Old Virgin, which I think is one of the greatest comedies of the last 30 years, really honestly, because of how it confronts something that has been a part of our lives in different ways for numerous generations, and is something that is morphing from the time you and I grew up, Steve, to now, where it's not necessarily seen as this kind of scarlet letter to wear around yourself. And so it's a fascinating thing to explore the concept of virginity in a comedic framework, you know?
I think that's a great point. And I think the thing that's happened, although maybe this is changing and who knows where we're going to be 10 years or 20 years from now, is we became a lot less rigid about gender roles and what people were supposed to do and what guys were supposed to be like and all that stuff got a little bit less rigid after this movie, I think. Not necessarily because of this movie.
Right.
Do you remember how you first came to the 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a bunch of us getting together to go see it. Obviously, I don't know specifically the day or date of when that happened, but I do remember that it was a bunch of us going to go see it. I'm not sure if you were part. I know it was Mikey and Shannon and other people who were involved in going to see it. But I just remember it was a big group of people. This was around that time when we were going to see films together. And I just remember us getting together to see it. It might have been over in Glendale. Before Glendale became the Galleria, there was a Bennigan's there at that other Glendale outdoor mall. And I think we might have gotten Bennigan's and then went over to see the movie, I think. But yeah.
I cannot remember. I know I saw it in the theater. I cannot remember if it was with a big group or not. And it definitely but I was in hysterics, absolute hysterics watching this movie. And the thought that I had, and I'm not 100% sure of this, but I want to float it with you, which is, I think this is maybe the last great comedy wave of film, because we get Anchorman, and Anchorman spawns sort of two connected but parallel comedy waves, which is it spawns the Will Ferrell set of movies where he makes a whole bunch of successful comedies right at the same time, and the Judd Apatow movies that leads to Superbad and Old School and all that stuff. And there's this wave of all of these comedies, and then that's the last wave, I think.
Yeah, it's been interesting because a lot of people have been clamoring recently. I've heard it from a number of people in the punditry space, but also fans and moviegoers who are like, where is comedy? What happened to comedy? Why isn't comedy, and of course, by extension, romantic comedy, raunchy comedies, teenage comedies, why aren't we getting those comedies anymore in our theaters in the numbers that we did in the past? And there's a number of reasons for that. I think the explosion of comedy on television and stand-ups are all over the place. There's more sitcoms that have come around again on multiple networks. So you can get that comedy itch scratched in a lot of different ways, and unique comedies like The Bear is apparently a comedy, or things like
The Bear is not a comedy.
Well, I'm just saying that's what it's classified.
That's just a stupid category thing from the Emmys that makes no sense.
Just say, there's many different versions of comedies now. You see stuff like with the Nathan Fielder stuff that's on HBO, or Curb Your Enthusiasm, or straight comedies like Big Bang Theory. So there's so many different ways that people are getting the comedy itch scratched at home that I think maybe the theater thing eventually kind of ran its course for now. But there is a clamoring for that to return because people want to escape. They want to go have fun again in the theaters and laugh and have that communal experience of laughing about the same things together, regardless of walk of life or political orientation. I think we desperately need it nowadays.
I think there is, there's so many things where obviously the group experience and seeing something in the theater, whether it's an epic film or a horror film or a drama, can be really powerful. But there are certain things, and I think specifically comedy and horror, where the benefit of being with an audience is really huge. I mean, the reality is the way that I watched the 40-Year-Old Virgin was sitting right here where I'm recording this to you with two screens open, one my notes screen and one the movie screen, and I'm stopping and starting every 25 seconds to make sure that I'm typing things correctly. That is not the ideal way to experience comedy,
Right.
Like having it is absolutely scientifically proven that you are more likely to laugh if there are other people laughing with you, and the more people that are laughing with you, the more you will laugh. That's just reality. you
Yeah,
know.
because it's a communal thing. You like
Yeah.
to feel that other people are feeling the same way about it as you are. Yeah.
That being said, there were several times that sitting right here, 25 seconds at a time, I still laughed out loud because there's some damn funny stuff in this.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to get into it for sure.
Well, it's coming soon because you know how when we did Jaws and Superman, we might have gone 30, 40 minutes before you actually entered the movie because the pre-production story was so detailed and fascinating.
Yeah.
That will not be our experience here.
Okay.
I have almost no pre-production. All I have, Judd Apatow, obviously was a writer and Freaks and Geeks and working with this community of very funny people, and that he is a producer and a writer on Anchorman. And while they're on Anchorman, he's just going, man, this Steve Carell guy is killing it. He is so great. And I will, we did Anchorman years and years ago, but I will totally go to YouTube anytime and type in Steve Carell Anchorman audition. Yeah. Because holy crap, you can just see right then that this guy's a comedy genius.
Yeah.
And obviously, Judd Apatow was seeing this too. So he starts going, man, maybe we should do something with this guy. And he goes up to Steve and says, do you have any ideas for a movie? And there, of course, because he's a guy who came out of improv with Second City, and he had developed a bunch of different characters and different sketches. And so he starts telling Judd Apatow, well, I did this character, and there's this one character he did. It sounds like it never quite was a hit at Second City, but it was a sketch in which there was a poker game and a guy who was a virgin had to describe sexual moments with people and try to convince them. And that sketch, which maybe was kind of unsuccessful, that is where this movie comes from.
Yeah. From what there's a great oral history on the film that dropped on the Ringer, which is what inspired me to suggest this to Steve.
But you didn't send it to me so I could check it out? Because you wanted to hold all that information yourself. I see how it goes.
I texted it to you weeks ago and said, this is why I want to do this.
You sent me the oral history?
Yeah, the link to it.
Oh, wow. Sure I missed it. I didn't look at it. Now I feel terrible.
No, don't. Because I have it here. So so you're absolutely right in what you're presenting here. And it was a matter that Carell had presented a number of sketch ideas and Apatow didn't find any kind of anything he could hold on to there. And it wasn't until Carell was walking out the door that he pitched exactly what you're saying, Steve. And that's what kind of hooked Apatow into it and said, he said, I can see what I can do with this. And Carell said that Apatow was 100% in from his reaction. And they spent that summer banging out the script that became The 40-Year-Old Virgin. So they worked on it together to put it together and do that. So yeah, basically what you said, it's just a couple extra details on it.
So they start writing the script together, and it really does sound like the way this movie, for most of the key parts got cast was they're writing it and they're like, well, obviously this is going to be Seth. Well, obviously this is going to be Paul. And then as they started to, bring those people in, they started to do more improvs and do more writing. So it's really, this is a group coming together to create this story, and much more so once we start shooting, because a whole heck of a lot of this movie is improvised.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, John, is all of my pre-production.
Sometimes it's just that simple. You come up with an idea, or you had an idea already. You find another comedian or another comedic writer to work with you, and you bang it out, and you bring in a bunch of your friends that you already know are also struggling, trying to get a name for themselves, to come in and improv scenes, and you take the best of those improv scenes and work it into the script. And the thing with it is that they pitched it at Universal, and it was Mary Parent and Stacey Snider, two women who read the script, who liked it, who championed this thing from the beginning. And there were some issues. They were trying to get this thing really done. There were some stoppages in the production. There's all kinds of things, but they were adamant that this film could work, and they pushed through to kind of get Apatow and Carell and the others on the same page to produce the best film they could produce. So it was not an easy comedy to put together, but if it wasn't for, because we spend a lot of time bashing executives, I think it's always good to give credit to executives when it's merited. And certainly Mary Parent and Stacey Snider at Universal were so integral two women again were integral for this film to come out and do well.
Well, and we have an interesting little twist in the way we're going to explore this movie, because unbeknownst to me, well, John and I didn't discuss which version of this film we were going to watch. And I just watched the extended one and he watched the theatrical one.
Right.
And so I have notes on the extended one. And like a lot of these extended movies, many of the scenes are correct that they shouldn't have been in the film. And so maybe we'll highlight some of them, but we won't go into a whole bunch of detail on them.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I've seen so many deleted scenes that those were probably part of the extended. So I will remember that if they are. Yeah.
So shall we get into the 40-year-old virgin? That sounded weird the way I said that. So the movie begins with a beautiful street, and we have Steve Carell awake, snuggling with his pillow. He gets up and starts walking around the house with the giant erection.
So let's stop for a second. Even right in the first few seconds. Like,
yes,
what is the logic here in showing, like, because I think comedy is not just let's tell jokes, yucks. I think the great comedies stand out because there is thought, there is intelligence behind these comedies to hit the right note and hit the right beat. So the decision to start off with your protagonist in 2005, by the way, with a massive erection through his boxer briefs. So this is not seen as like this guy having a small penis or what, like it's a tent, what he set up down there.
Right.
Do you think that's on purpose? Like to let you know, look, this guy may be a virgin, but he's got like subconsciously, he's got a big dick. So it's something we are going to, for lack of a better term, we did do the spoiler one. We did do the warning, trigger warning, but like he's got this massive Johnson down there to a degree, in order to make us look at him in a different way. Like he's not necessarily from the opening seconds. He's not this pathetic dweeb. He's actually a guy who's got he's got tackle down there. And it's just whatever we're going to see as the film goes along. So, or was it just funny to have a guy with an erection? Is it just that simple?
So many things. So often when we're having these conversations, you will say something or I'll say something, and that'll cause us to go back and have to actually look at the image. And so that we understand what the other person is discussing. So as you were saying that, I had to go back. And first of all, I must point out that they were not boxer briefs. They are boxers.
Oh, boxers. Sorry. Yes, boxers.
Yes, because we want to, accuracy is very important on the Cine-Files. We want to get this stuff right. Yeah. And then I also had to, look, you were right. We gave a trigger warning, but then I had to go back and go, how big do I think that looks? That was what you made me look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, actually, that's not what one could certainly interpret it that way. But to me, this is the problem of the movie. The entire, like, you talk about a movie that sets up its basic problem with its opening image. In the second shot of the film, we see a dude with a boner and he doesn't have anything to do with it. He cannot get, it's a story about a man who cannot get rid of his metaphorical boner.
Yeah.
Like that is the entire movie, you know?
Go. The intelligence.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Sophisticated and symbolic film. There's a thing I've always remembered that George Carlin said, which is that he said that his basic approach to stand-up comedy, which that he, in the course of an hour set, is going to cover three things. One, he's going to cover language because he loves language. And you have all of those wonderful runs of him just playing with the absurdity and the silliness and sounds of language, which is great. Yeah. He's going to talk politics. He's going to talk about our world. Obviously, some of the greatest George Carlin routines are about those things. And then he said the third thing he always talks about is the things that everybody experiences, but nobody ever discusses with each other.
Yeah.
And there's so much of this movie that is that. And one of the things is if you are a male, you will wake up this way sometimes. Yeah. And particularly a much younger male who wakes up this way all the time. Right. And then sometimes it doesn't go away right away. You know?
No, it doesn't. Oh, yeah. One of the hardest things when you wake up now with a boner at this age and you have to have raging pee is you have to like either exactly do what he's doing, which is like you have to kind of, well, not that you're pissing into your hands to tamp it down or anything, but like it's
you have to manipulate on some level, right, in order to make the shot,
and then clean up afterwards if you don't make the shot, or you have to sit there and wait for it to go down before you can get out of bed, which is really annoying because it gets on your nerves. How much you're desired, how much can you hold off before you have to get out of that bed? But yes, we have experienced this many men have experienced. And of course, women experience this, but it's much easier.
But they have a different. I mean, I don't. Well, they could have their own discussion of like. There's all this. Is what's so funny? Why I love that George Carlin thing is there's all this stuff that we have done. That we never talked about. You know, you just had to, like, your dad didn't pull you aside, I'm assuming, and say, listen, son, I assume he was speaking Spanish, but some days you're going to wake up with a boner and then it's going to be hard to pee. And dad didn't tell us these things.
Conversation never happened to you, correct?
No, none of these conversations in Spanish or English or any other language.
Basically, you figure it out, right?
No, you have to figure all this stuff out, which is what this movie is actually about on some level.
Yeah.
It is a community of supportive men.
Supportive? Yes, you're really using that term loosely. Yeah.
They think they're being supportive.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Teaching someone the sophisticated ways of the mating rituals and whatnot.
Yeah. And all of them are wrong. All of them are wrong for what he's looking for.
Well, what I actually think, so and maybe this is a spoiler alert to the end of the movie. I'll tell you what movie this made me think about a little bit, which is it made me think about Fight Club. And the reason it made me think about Fight Club is Tyler Durden is in fact a terrorist and a horrible, violent person. Yeah. And many of the things that he wants are terrible. Yeah. But a lot of the pieces of advice or the observations he gives are very good. Andy does actually need to learn many of the things that Jay and Cal and David are teaching him. They're just horribly fucked up people that should not be role models in any way. But some of what he gets from them, he needed, you know?
We'll see.
We'll see
as we go person by person. So, yeah.
Well, and this is, we get to see a little bit of Andy's life. We get to see, I love that they start off his exercises, the abductor exercise. And they literally, it's like, no disrespect, it's an important part of your body workout. But they went, what is the most feminine exercise we can give Andy at the beginning of this movie? Yeah. You know?
But I also think you're getting a glimpse into, as you said, you're getting a glimpse into Andy because all the figures. So he's clearly a nerd, right? But everything's perfectly aligned in the way that it's put in the house. But he's a nerd who starts off with a massive erection, in my opinion. And then he's working out before he goes to work. So this to me is an unusual, and he has a very big breakfast. So there are these little things that show you that he's not the stereotypical thing that we would assume or have been told about virgins, right? When you stereotype, he's breaking the stereotype of it from the beginning, which I think is really smart because we as an audience have to find some kind of connection with this guy that we like him, right? And so I like that the way he's presented is immediately experiencing something that all men have experienced. And then just the way he's taking care of himself, it speaks to a little something about himself, but he's clearly a nerd with all the figures and stuff around.
Totally. You know what kind of nerd - virgin I think that Andy is? I think Andy is the kind of nerd that was in the audience when William Shatner said, "Get a life. Have you ever kissed a girl?" Like that is, Andy is right in that peer group. And this is 15 years after that. Right. You know, and he hasn't changed at all. And he is, but the thing is,
though. Yeah, that's good.
Well, this is the thing about nerds. Nerds are disciplined on some level. Like you don't get to collect the scores of every Giants game from 1924 or every Star Wars figurine without discipline and hard work. And in order to know the title of every Star Trek episode, you have to practice. Like this is not easy. This is hard.
And get called out by other nerds for not knowing. Yeah.
So he tucks his socks into his pants, gets on the folding bike is it's not just that it's a bike. It's the folding bike.
Yes.
Speaks to his friendly African American neighbors upstairs.
That guy needs to get laid.
Tell me something I don't know.
We've talked a lot about movies that get certain locations, like Pulp Fiction and The Big Lebowski getting L.A. Yeah. This is a Valley movie.
Oh, 100%. 100%. For those of you who've never lived in the Valley or don't know about the Valley, this is absolutely the Valley. And there's probably a version of the Valley in every state. I mean, I live in a version of the Valley here in San Diego.
Sure.
You know, and so there are areas that are very residential, very Valley-like. And so, yeah, it absolutely captures that.
I mean, honestly, I knew, like, just seeing all the locations, they were right in Encino. I know exactly, right. This is Ventura Boulevard. I know exactly where this is. And he rides up to what is the Circuit City / good guys of this era. of the stereo. You remember when the stereo store was cool?
Oh yeah, are you kidding? I used to grow up and go to the stereo store all the time back in the 90s. You go to the Circuit City Best.
Wait, didn't you work at one or
Uh,
something?
and I worked at a version of one in the mall in my teenage years, but I never worked at like Circuit City or Radio Shack
Right.
or Sam Goodies. And there were a few other ones as well. I never worked at any of the chains, but there was one called Job Lot Pushcart back in Dale City in like 1996, 95, something like that, 97. I worked in the stereo section as an assistant manager in there. But I did not work for an electronics store specifically. But
some reason I
this
had
is very relatable. Everything is going through is very relatable. Yeah.
So fan of the show and member of Patreon, David Seelig, my oldest friend, he worked at the Good Guys, I think in college. And it was like the coolest job because that was like, because I used to subscribe to like, I don't remember what it was, Home Theater Magazine or Stereo Magazine or one of those, they were Audiophile or something. I subscribed to those. So all this stuff was really cool. And there was I don't know if it was still open when you moved to LA. It probably was. Do you remember the Good Guys across the street from the Beverly Center? There was a Good Guys there at the Beverly Connection, and it was open 24 hours a day.
Wow.
Yes. So I would finish shooting a movie at 3 in the morning, and then I would go to the stereo store because I was wide awake and go to the demo room and watch the demo of the Laserdisc player. Like, this was a cool thing. You know?
Yeah. No, I never did that. But there was the Circuit City at the end of Sunset Boulevard, heading into Los Feliz.
Yeah, near my house.
Yep. Right by the Blockbuster Video. I would go to that Circuit City all the time because they always had discounts. They always had sales going on. So yes, I remember driving all the way to the end of Sunset.
We talked about this off mic. I would go and fantasize about all the things I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
Like I would get that stereo with that TV and that speaker. So he heads into the store, walks by Jane Lynch, and there is right away a beautiful blonde woman who has questions for him, and he doesn't talk to her because he goes,
I'm not a salesman, so I could probably...
Welcome to Smart Tech. How can I be of service to you?
And the actor playing Jay, Romany Malco, swoops in to take over that sale.
Yeah, Romany Malco, who I was really sad to see that he did not contribute to the oral history. And maybe there's something behind the scenes or whatever, but he's an actor who has worked quite a lot ever since. He's been in A Million Little Things, which is the name of a TV series, 87 episodes of that recently. But, he's been in so many different things. Fantastic comedian and actor who's been just a part of Weeds for 38 episodes and a number of other things that he was a part of. So he's just a really good energy to have in the movie. You have to have a black actor in the movie, energy in the movie, because there's so many white actors, there's so many white approaches to this stuff. You have to have a nice balance, and I think it's the perfect balance. And then when you bring in the other actors of color who work in the store with him, I think is amazing as well. It gives like nice different energy and shows that comedy is universal, no matter what. So I think that's a really a great part of having Romany Malco as a part of this thing.
So I'm going to say, I'm trying to think of how to say this in a respectful way. I think he's totally good in the movie. Really good. He delivers on everything he's asked to do.
Yeah.
And there's this thing about casting where and I know I've said this before, is that you definitely want someone who can read the script and say the lines and deliver everything that's in the script. And I think he achieves that. Paul Rudd, Steve Carell, and Seth Rogen are above and beyond. That's the distinction between a great comic actor and someone who can act comedy really, really well.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I see with him. That's what I mean. I don't mean any disrespect towards his performance in the movie, but I also go like, this is why he doesn't become a star, because he can't do that other thing that Steve Carell can do.
Maybe.
Or maybe he didn't have the chance.
That's what I'm saying. It's not like they're knocking down doors to give African Americans the lead in comedy.
Perfectly,
yeah. So, but I take your point. But the fact that he has consistently worked, though, but he's
great
in shows that are maybe dramatic and then occasionally comedic, it shows that you're probably right. He was more of an actor, where they were more of comedians who became actors. Right? Paul Rudd later, Seth Rogen later, even Jonah Hill later. Yeah. So,
well, and this is there's a specific skill that is, and I definitely don't have this skill. I was in a play once, and I had a director. It was when I was in the cross-dressing version of Cleopatra the musical. And the director, I had some line, and the director's like, "Why aren't you making that line funny?" And I'm like, "What's funny about the line?" He's like, "Make it funny," and that was his only direction.
Yeah,
I can't do that. If you say make it funny to me, I can't. I can. If the line is funny, I can deliver it fine. I'm okay.
right.
There are people like my friend Soren is one of these people. Our friend Mike Ross is one of these people.
Yes.
Who can make something that isn't funny.
Yes.
And that's what you watch Steve Carell, and I'll say Paul Rudd as well in this, Seth Rogen less so, but you watch Steve Carell. Steve Carell literally can just make something funny.
Yeah.
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 Speaking of Seth Rogen, that's who we run into next. And John, I think they're going to have a really, really nice conversation about their weekends. It's going to be nice.
Seth is a really important part of the process here too, because Seth was a co-producer on the movie, which, I mean, they just kind of they were giving each other titles because they were kind of left to free reign. But he did a lot of work on the film, punching up scenes and then eventually was cast in the movie because of his work punching up the scenes and what have you. So it's funny because he would go to Judd Apatow's office and basically sit there all day writing. Apatow had his own office, but Seth did not. So Seth would just show up like it was a job, and he would sit there writing comedy all day. So that's kind of, you talk about the 10,000 hours. These are things you do when you're young. You put in the time, you put in the effort, you work for free. When I was starting out in this section of my life in this business, I worked for free for 2 to 3 years.
I'm still working for free.
Well, we get paid on Cine-Files. But like we
elsewhere.
Yes, right. Oh, for other things. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing you do when you're starting out to establish yourself and get yourself known. And so he's such an essential part of the movie in many, many ways. But him coming in this introduction, Steve, I work retail my whole life. I know guys just like this. I know guys exactly like every guy in this movie.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Certainly him coming in with this story about going to Mexico and the idea of the horse and all of that. It's like, yep, I know those guys who just are into this kind of weird shit and don't mind talking about it openly with other dudes. It's crazy.
So two things. The first is, I think Seth Rogen, like this last 20 years, that is a slow and steady wins the race.
Yep.
Of like, this guy just kept at it and kept doing it. And he had failures and he had successes and he didn't, it's like, it seems like he's just like, I remember this is a quote from the documentary on Woody Allen, is that whenever Woody Allen finishes his edit on one movie, he immediately moves in and starts writing the next movie.
Yeah.
And I think Seth Rogen feels like that kind of person. He's just going to keep going. And the studio is fantastic. It is an unbelievably great show. So
100%.
And yes, as you mentioned, he's telling a story about going to the horse show in Tijuana. So one of the things, and this certainly hit close to home, is there are certain elements of guy talk that I'm not good at and don't like and have not participated well in, and like, I'm not like, because guys do get together sometimes, particularly at a certain age, and talk about their exploits. And I love telling stories. I love to tell stories, but this is not my area. And so I feel Andy in this moment.
Yeah.
We get there and, we think it's going to be awesome. And it is not as cool as it sounds like it would be, man. It's kind of gross.
Yeah.
The moment where you could see, and I think Seth plays it really well, of the setting up the quote unquote excitement of going to see the show and the realization as he's watching it that it's kind of sad.
It was not what he thought it was going to be. And he felt bad for the woman, which is not the feeling you want to have coming out of one of those shows, you would imagine.
And then says, and I kind of felt bad for the horse.
Yeah, that too.
And then he asks, what did you do on the weekend? And we should say this is how this movie went. Was they had a very tight idea of the structure. They understood who the characters were. They understood what the basic scene was about. They had some things written down, but then they also left things open to, we're going to improvise this. So they knew it was going to be a scene about, Cal telling the story about the trip to Tijuana and the horse and all that. And then they knew that Andy was going to have to make something up. And he did like 3 takes. And they were okay. And this is the problem with not writing things in advance, is you're hoping that magic is going to happen. Right. And so, it hadn't really happened. And Judd walks up to Steve Carell and says, and Steve's like, I don't think that went very well. I'm not sure what we're doing. He said, we're doing another take right now. And Steve's like, wait, I don't have a right now, roll camera. And he rolls camera and says action. And this is what comes out of Steve Carell's mouth.
God, Friday when I went home, I really wanted an egg salad sandwich, and I was just obsessing about it. And I was like, man, I'm gonna make one of those. So Saturday I went out and I got like a dozen eggs.
You know, I said that things hit kind of close to home. This one hit close to home. You know, I love to cook. I'm no longer married.
Yes.
The main person who I cook for is not living in my house.
Yeah.
My son is a picky eater and isn't not that interested in things that I make.
Right.
And so and to make matters worse, I'm on Wegovy, which means I actually don't have very much appetite. But there are times where I go, I just feel like cooking. So like 3 nights ago, I made an unbelievably good steak. I did a reverse sear. I put all this work into it. I did a little balsamic reduction. I had some shallots. I made like, this is a kick-ass steak.
Wow.
And then I ate 3 bites of it and I was full because I'm on drugs that take away my appetite. And I was just like reading this whole thing for me. I'm like, that's essentially what I did. I spent many hours making some fantastic food for nobody but me. And even I couldn't eat that much of it.
I hear you, but I think you're more aware than Andy. Like if you start to tell your
I'm
story,
not Andy.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't think I'm Andy.
Yeah,
I'm saying it hit close to
elements.
home.
Yeah. Because I mean, you would notice if Seth wasn't paying attention to your story or was looking like he was bored with your story. But yeah, this is such a great way to set up the differences between these two characters, yet don't make it feel like you're supposed to choose one over the other, right? Because you have this guy. Because initially, a guy like this could be written real easy in one note. He's a dude who talks about weird shit in sex and enjoys it. But the fact that they have him saying, I felt bad for the horse, like they humanize him in a lot of ways. And this is something Mary Parent said in that breakdown where she said, like, the thing that was happening in the mid-2000s was that comedy went from high concept to grounded. And and this is what was really the next 10 years of comedies that were successful were these grounded comedies in real life interactions. You said, Steve, with George Carlin stuff, showing us interactions or showing us things that actually happen, right? And everyone has worked with someone like this. If you've done any level of retail or any level of jobs like this, you have worked with a dude like this who talks about sexual exploits or whatever, looks around, makes sure no one's watching or listening, and talks to you about this stuff as if you're one of his boys to listen to these kinds of stories, right? And you have to usually humor those people because they get kind of offended if you don't like, humor them as they tell their story. But the fact that they added this nice wrinkle where he felt bad for the people involved in this sexual story, it makes him someone you actually want to like. And then with Andy, when we go to Andy and his telling his story, it's so great because it's just like everything about the making of this damn food. I even feel like Andy explaining this scene in a way. And it's like, I'm sure some people are rolling their eyes now, but it's like, this is the thing where you get with Andy, you see that he is the kind of, he doesn't have the cool kind of thing, but he really likes what he likes. And there's an innocence to it. And that's important. He isn't like making stuff up and he feels pathetic. He's making stuff up and he's like, this is something I thoroughly enjoy doing. And you kind of love that about him as a character,
I think that's a great point because, and I think there are 2 parts to it. One is like, I actually think he enjoys painting his figurines and playing his tuba. And it's not like he's
100%.
Which again, as I relate to Andy, as I spend a fair amount of time alone, I'm content. I enjoy my time alone. That's, they really set it up a way that's not a problem. The other thing about him, Andy really cares. I bet if Andy did decide to make you an egg salad sandwich, it would be fantastic.
Yes.
Because he would really, really work and get the right bread. And maybe he'd use the Kewpie mayonnaise rather than the best foods. And he would, he has the paprika. Like he would really, really work on it. Yeah. That's what's great about guys like Andy.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd goes over to Jane Lynch, who plays Paula. By the way, this was supposed to be a guy, and they realized we have way too many guys in this movie. And Jane Lynch, it's so interesting because it's so clear that there are people that they interacted with in the improv world and went, this person is special. Let's see if we can do something. And man, this is where I first discovered Jane Lynch. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I didn't know what she was going to become, but I always loved her in this movie. And see, and this is the thing where sometimes people get upset. Like, well, why did you feel the need to add a woman to the movie? Well, there was too many guys. You shouldn't do that. You should cast the best person for the part. No, sometimes in a creative process, you understand that you need a different energy. And although the film initially was written for this to be a male character, we realized we had too many male characters. So to balance out the film, we changed the gender and brought in a woman to play the role, and it absolutely makes an essential part of the movie. It's absolutely essential to the movie to have that energy in here, because you have Catherine Keener, you have Jane Lynch, and you have later Kat Dennings. These are very strong women in playing their roles that they play, and so it's an important balance to have in the movie. So, sometimes when you make those decisions, let me bring in a person of color, let me bring in a woman, it's to help the overall energy of the film. It isn't because you're trying to check some box.
I would like to object to and put an end to this. Why don't you use the best person argument? This is just because you're not trying. Like, let's say I think there's a strong argument to be made that Anthony Hopkins is, in fact, the best actor in Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I don't think that Jodie Foster or Scott Glenn or any of the other people aren't great actors. I think they are. I'm just saying there's an argument that Anthony Hopkins is the best.
Yeah.
Would Silence of the Lambs be improved by casting it entirely with clones of Anthony Hopkins? The job isn't to be the best. The job is to play that role. That's the point. It's like you've got a symphony and you're like going, well, the best player is the tuba, so let's just have all tubas. It's like, no, we need someone to do that thing.
Was she a great big fat person? Oh, that would be amazing.
I mean, Jane
Gum.
It's like, sure, there might be a great comedic person, but Jane Lynch brings Jane Lynch.
Yes.
It's not just that she brings a woman, although she does.
Yeah.
The essence of Jane Lynch is entirely its own thing.
Yeah, and she played this character, because Jane Lynch can play feminine characters as well, but
Sure.
she played this character with a little bit of the mannish energy to it, right? Because the way she's just kind of no nonsense and delivers this kind of stuff, like, it's got that little bit of a mixture of both. So it works for what you were doing.
Yeah. And she's having an argument, or Paul Rudd is having an argument with her about not playing the same Michael McDonald DVD over and over again on those screens.
That if you don't take this Michael McDonald DVD that you've been playing for 2 years straight off, I'm going to kill everyone in the store and put a bullet in my brain.
Oh, this is so true. I remember.
Yes.
We would go, everybody listening, I'm sure, and Steve, I'm sure you do too. You go into a stereo store and they'd be playing the same live concert of Michael McDonald. It is the safest thing you could play on there because he's singing soul classics, but it's a white dude. So it's very like fucking safe. And you would see it all the time in these stores. It would drive you. And I love Michael McDonald, charter member of the fan club, but it was still a bit much to go in every time and see that.
It doesn't matter what it is. They could be playing the Beatles over and over again. At a certain point, it's like, please change the DVD.
Yes.
You know,
I'm a Yamo burn this place to the ground. I mean, just some great comedy here.
Yeah, Paul Rudd is so, and again, this is where I'm discovering Paul Rudd too. Right? Yeah. This is Anchorman and this back to back, and it's like, oh, who's this guy?
Well, that's how he got on the film. Is that he had worked with Apatow and Anchorman, and then they offered him the role, and he said, I immediately took it. I didn't even. Yeah. As soon as they told me about the bag of sand line, I was in. And so, yeah.
And then we get Gary Bednob, who plays Mooj, arguing with Jay over whether or not whose customer this is.
This is great, because if you've ever worked in retail, again, you have these fights. These are stupid, petty, ridiculous fights, and they take advantage of territorial stuff that humans naturally have. And let me say something to you for real, having worked in management in retail. This is done on purpose. They want you, when I found this out, I was so upset. They want the salespeople to fight each other for the sales because it shows hunger, it shows desire, and it also shows who's really the best of the bunch. And so you see these battles that happen. And yes, the idea that you spend all this time talking to somebody, then you go in the back to check on the thing they want, and somebody else swoops in and takes them and makes the sales. I've had this happen to me. It's super goddamn frustrating. But it's the way the game goes sometimes. And so this is such a realistic battle, Steve, on so many levels.
Well, and there's always the thing of like, you take some language that seems unexpected and put it in the voice of a person with an accent that you don't think would be saying those things.
Right.
And we get early 2000s comedy.
You want to take the shit outside? You want to just take it outside and just squash it?
No, let's stay inside so everybody can see what a pussy you have, okay? Because when I remove the blade I keep in my boot from a sheet, I can't return it until it has spilled blood.
The thing that I think is interesting is that things escalate to a level, and maybe part of this is the extended version, where you're just like, oh my God, Mooj is saying this is getting really intense.
Yeah.
And then they make a deal and they give each other a hug and everything is okay.
So, yes.
Yes. No, I think this is a really important point the movie is making.
Yeah. Dudes are like this, right?
Yeah.
Wes Anderson does this in his movies all the time when he's done the stop motion animation stuff. The animals, if you watch Fantastic Mr. Fox, how many times do the animals start barking or yelling at each other in the room? And that's the way it is. Because, men are like this. Men are going to get into it and then be like, all right, cool. We're still going to get a beer later and it's totally fine. Like, it's just sadly how we're built. And I would even argue that, people from different cultures, it happens. You get that, and then, all right, we cool. But I love that this is also giving you a sample of the kind of comedy that we're going to get in this movie. There's going to be no holds barred. And the idea of making these kinds of comments to each other in these moments, I think is important to highlight and notate as well as you're watching this kind of comedy.
I think there's something important in this about, I guess the way I'd say it is there's something important about code switching in here, which is that there are spaces where you walk into a different space and the rules change. And so like you say, which I agree with, of saying like, dudes are like this. I'm not like this. Like if I ever, and what I mean by that is if you ever heard, because this gets to the point where they're throwing racial slurs at each other.
That's what I'm saying to you. Like
you ever heard, can you imagine me ever throwing a racial slur at you in some kind of an argument?
No, but we don't have that kind of relationship.
This is what I'm saying.
I do this with other friends though, for sure. Yeah.
It's exactly my point. That's why I go. It's like I've playfully given you shit, and you've playfully given me shit many, many times.
Yes,
there's certain levels that I won't go to, but I will go if I walked into this space. You become aware, like, oh, I have to turn it up, in order to fit in with this group. Even that, and that's where you said, which I think was really interesting, is that it's a cultural thing too.
Yes.
It's like if you hang out, like I know going from my Jewish family to Karen's Italian and Irish family, there was shit said that was no one ever said anything like those things in my household. My dad never called my mom stupid. My mom never swore at my dad. Like those things. I mean, oh my God, if that had happened, that would have been the end of life as we know it. If something like that had happened in my household. So that's what I mean. Is like there's a cultural thing and there's definitely a dude thing. But I think the other important thing about this moment is they're telling us something to understand about the whole movie, which is we can go to a ridiculous place and not take it that seriously.
Yeah.
Like we're still going to be friends even after he calls him the N-word,
Yeah.
Now we have Jay and Cal hanging out.
How about Andy?
No.
Come on, man. We need 5 guys that play a decent poker game, right?
So they're trying to decide whether or not to invite Andy along. And it's obvious that they've never been friends with him.
He's a really nice guy and all, but I'm pretty sure that he is a serial murderer.
Who cares, man? He's a nice guy. I just want to get drunk, fucked up, and play some cards.
And this is all because he's not like them, right?
Yeah.
He's very like put together. Everything's very clean and all that kind of stuff. And he's kind of weird. But so they assume this. Now, of course, nowadays with all this guy, it's not necessarily an unusual thing to consider, but it was a funny joke at the time in the way they were presenting it. And it works.
I mean, the dude that doesn't talk that much to everyone else, acts a little bit weird, dresses a little bit different. You've been around that dude. Like, and there are times where you're like, there's something up with that dude, I mean, if someone gave me a list and said, listen, someone from your grad school was a serial killer, ended up being a serial killer, my brain immediately goes to one particular dude. I'm just saying. Wow. I'm sure he's not. But if someone was, that was the person. He had a screenplay. I don't know if I'll put this in. This is, the screenplay, you have your description, and it'll say like interior, the electronics store day. He had one that said it said exterior, the surface of the sun, day. And I'm like, isn't it always day on the surface of the sun? How would it ever be night?
Genius.
So anyway, that would be the guy. But But this actually came up for a different reason. I don't know if this was in the script before this, but the studio literally shut down this movie for several days after seeing the dailies. One of the reasons was they thought Paul Rudd was too fat. One of the other reasons that they shut down the movie was they thought that Andy looked like a serial killer.
Yeah. They thought his hairstyle, the way he presented himself, and they thought people weren't going to like the approach to the movie, the character and the approach to the movie. Yeah, 100%.
By the way, speaking of Silence of the Lambs, they say,
look, I don't want to end up a lampshade in some creepy apartment. That's what I'm saying.
So they go up to Andy and they ask him if he has plans tonight. And Andy's immediately suspicious.
Why? Do we have to unload the Sony truck?
Nah, the guys are getting together and playing some poker. I thought, you'd want to play.
With you guys? Yeah, sure, that'd be cool.
You know how to play, right?
Yeah, I play online sometimes.
When he plays online, does he actually gamble?
Yeah, I think he does.
I bet he doesn't.
I think he wins all the time.
I bet it's all just fake money. I bet he's never like it's all just tokens,
Okay. Because he spends a lot of money on those figures. So he certainly has money.
Well, he doesn't spend a lot of money on those figures. He bought them all when they were new, I think.
But quite a number of them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then it's nighttime. We're in the store. And this, of course, is the scene. This is the sketch that inspired the whole film.
Yep.
And I like, by the way, that Andy is winning.
And a full house.
Oh my dude, what? How much fucking online poker do you play, dog?
It's like an hour or two a night when I'm not playing Halo.
What do you got this guy? He's a fucking ringer, man. This is hog shit. You're a fucking asshole to tell me come here, tell me who's a nice guy, didn't you? Well, fuck you people, fuck you and you, fuck and kiss my big brown fucking ass, okay?
I think this is great because this is a Pakistani character that we're not exposed to this kind of stuff, right? Sometimes when you grow up I think in 2005, you're like, how many Pakistani actors or characters had you seen in your life that would go in this direction in a comedy, right? It's very rare. So I think he's so important to the movie in the comedic stylings that he has and sensibility. Because this guy, he's a stand-up, which is how he got to know these guys. And he brings such a great element to the film because it kind of turns that idea on its head. He's not just this guy who's like, you could have done the Apu route that you see in The Simpsons when it's an Indian guy, not Pakistani, but you could have gone that route where he's like, oh, he's nice to everybody and he has this kind of hidden hatred at times for things, but he's a sweetheart, right? This guy is very clear about who he is and he doesn't give a fuck about who knows about it. And he's free in his speech and the things that he's saying. So it's so funny. And when he's going off on Andy about it, bringing in the ringer and you guys messing with me and all this kind of stuff, it's just brilliant to have that kind of energy in the film.
Well, because they just see him as one of them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like they're not putting a separation on him.
Right.
The whole joke, the whole fun of it is that he's good to go.
Yes.
Oh shit, I gotta go. Damn. About to go see Ellen in a little bit.
Going now? Late night action, huh?
Dude, you know how we go, man.
Your girlfriend know about all these late night visits?
It's like an unspoken agreement, yeah.
It's like a completely and utterly unspoken agreement.
Unspoken agreement. Yeah.
So let's be real clear about what's going on here with Jay.
Go ahead.
Jay is not just fooling around. It seems like he is a serial philanderer. He is fooling around all the time on his very serious long-term girlfriend.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess that's it. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. Don't be looking for morality in this film. You're not going to find it with Andy. All of them have their own issues. Paul Rudd's character is caught up essentially stalking
he's a stalker. Yeah.
Right. Seth Rogen is the guy who's a little bit unhinged with some of the ways he looks at sex. He's a bit infantile, yet it kind of works for him for whatever reason. And Romany Malco's character is clearly a guy who is a player. He's with a woman, but he cheats on her. And let's be honest, many of us have known dudes like this at that time growing up. Now, I don't know nowadays what it's like for 20 and 30-year-olds. Are there guys doing that still? I don't know. But I know in my time growing up, I knew a few guys who would do that kind of shit.
Oh, sure.
It was unsavory. You always hated it, but it was, if you had any kind of morality there, but it was, their business and their relationship. So, yeah.
And he goes on this long speech about the sexual appetites of his girl that ends up with, lube on the arches of feet.
Yeah, but he's talking about the girl he's going to go have sex with. He's not talking about his wife or his girlfriend, right? He's talking about the girl. And this is why he goes to have sex with her, because she's open to do all this kind of stuff that his wife won't or his girlfriend won't do, which is not reason, but yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to judge, John. Oh, wait, no, I am. I kind of am here to judge. So, and then Seth goes in, we're just going to take it to an even. It's so funny when they were sitting there going, what is the filthiest thing I can come up with?
Oh, yeah.
What is it? And what they come up with is.
I was sleeping with a woman recently. She had her tits were unbelievable.
Oh, man, I love titties, so.
And so we're doing it, and I'm about to finish, and her dog starts licking my ass.
Oh, do I?
I swear to God. And I have to decide, do I finish or do I stop the dog?
I know your nasty ass. He finished.
I finished.
By the way, I think all of his stories are bullshit. That's the way I looked at it this time, is that actually he rarely gets laid. He just is one of those guys that has mastered the language of getting laid, and so he conveys that energy. But I actually think he rarely gets laid. But he's got these colorful stories because he's an inventive guy. And we also know those guys who make up or embellish their exploits or the number of exploits that they've had. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that's the truth. It's just my opinion.
Honestly, of our three Randy wise men, I find Cal to be the most morally upright. I actually don't know. Like David and Jay, they are doing terrible things.
Right.
I don't know that Cal is. I actually agree with you. I do think he went to the horse show. I do think he genuinely felt bad.
Yeah.
And then I do think he has a filthy brain and he talks a good game, but we don't see him do anything mean to anybody in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that being said, the stories.
Oh, yeah.
God, I could do a podcast for 2 years just on the stories of the weird shit that goes because I guess I'm different in that way. Like I started having sex when I was 15, and I have had numerous partners throughout my life and weird experiences and crazy shit that's gone down, which I've told some of you guys about. And it's only been in the last few years that it's been about relationships and settling down. But before then, man, I was all over the place in high school and college and the army, and then the second trip through college. So yeah, the stuff that he's talking about, there is some weird shit that's so funny that you get into if you have a lot of sex and you kind of stumble into weird experiences, strange places, dogs and cats getting involved in your sex.
Sleeping together.
Dogs and cats living together. Yeah, right. Mass hysteria. So yeah, I mean, and everybody knows me now as the old outlaw, but I had my fun.
The young outlaw.
The young outlaw had his fun. Let me just tell you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I think this is a good point to say, full disclosure, like Karen and I started dating in 1991.
Yeah.
And I was not inexperienced. I lost my virginity at 17 and had a few girlfriends before that.
Right.
But so 91, I'm 23. So that's 6 years after I had lost my virginity. And then I was with the same person for 30 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I haven't really dated since, So what's funny though, I have, through various substance uses or Burning Man or play, I've been in some rooms where there was some stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, it's not like I am naive, in the Andy sense, but in terms of my own personal experience, like it ain't that much. You know?
Yeah. We come at this movie from two different places, but like we're still enjoying the comedies. The comedy that's being delivered here throughout the movie, because we've had similar experiences or correlative experiences overall, which is great. Because I've been the Andy nerd. Like when I first started, being interested in girls, I was 10 years old when I first started being interested in girls. I remember that distinctly, but I was terrible at any of that. It wasn't until
you were 10. You were supposed to be terrible.
But I saw other 10-year-olds kissing other 10-year-olds.
I did too.
And so it wasn't until I was like, when I started working out and got my confidence back after being beat up and bullied for so long, that's when I lost my virginity to a 22-year-old in the back of a station wagon. And, she was a mother of two kids, and so it was like, it happened.
Hey, at least she wasn't a hot grandma.
She wasn't. But the thing. Wait, is that your experience? Was it a hot grandma for you when you were 17?
No.
Okay, I didn't know what you were an illusion.
It's the movie we're watching,
Oh,
John.
you're
There's
right,
a hot
that's right.
grandma in the movie. Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, we haven't gotten to that part yet, so it's not my top of mind. But yeah, so then it became a thing of like, all this kind of, I don't even know where I was going with that. But anyway, I just had the
you had to build the confidence over some time.
Yes. And then when I went through college in my 20s, before I got into the military, I went through a terrible streak because the jump from high school to college, I didn't know how to talk to college girls at all. I regressed back to being that 13, 14-year-old who couldn't talk to girls, who got nervous around women. Like, it wasn't that I didn't occasionally hook up with someone. It's just I was nowhere near as frequent. And it was so weird to me. And then when I went in the military and I kind of lost this weight, got back in shape, then, it wasn't a problem and all of that went on. So it's an also interesting experience. So there's elements of the film that I relate to personally through Andy, and then there are elements of the film where I relate to the guys. So it's an interesting experience, this movie, for me personally.
And then now that we've had our Cal moment, we're going to have our Paul Rudd moment, who says,
sometimes Amy and I would make love. It was almost like we weren't two people, but we were two spirits or something. Our souls were connected in this way. I can't describe it. Time stood still. It was like we were sharing the same heart.
And I've been this idiot who is so in love with a girl who is not in love with you, and you just kind of talk about it all the time, and your friends are going insane that you won't get over it. I've been him before too.
Yeah, one of our big fights. I mean, our biggest fight ever probably was in this moment, I think.
Oh, the ABC? Are you talking about the ABC?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, but that wasn't because we were broken up, right? That was because I told you that she was everything I could ever want, but she wasn't. And you were trying to make it clear that she wasn't or couldn't be. And I just didn't want to hear it because I, of course, was in that place of like, no, she's everything. You all are wrong. She's the right one for me. And I was completely wrong about that. And it was.
But when you're in that place, when you're in that place, that's how it feels. I remember I was on a ski trip with buddies, and this is where it was totally this, which is we were all bitching about women.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys with us went, oh, I don't know, man. My girlfriend is just like the sun rises in her eyes and sets, and she's the most beautiful, perfect. And every moment I'm with her, I feel safe. And we all looked at this guy and was like, you did not understand. You did not read the room. and they just try to shut him down.
Stop, man. Why do you always come and kill the vibe with those things? Sharing the same heart. That's like some Britney Spears shit, man. This is 3 grown-ass men. Don't nobody want to hear that shit.
This is why I think Romany is such an important part of the movie.
Oh, I agree.
Truth teller. He just cuts through and drops the hammers, man, here. So, yeah.
And we find out that they broke up 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he has not moved on.
Oh, that was my first girlfriend, the first real serious girlfriend when I was 21. I was like, she was everything to me. And I blew it. Because I was so cocky at that time. Yes, there is a version of me that's even cockier. And I just did not treat her well verbally. And it was a bad situation. And I hated myself for a good long time because of that. And I would just talk about her all the time with everybody. And they just got so annoyed. And it's the same thing. 2 years. Yeah, it took 2 to 3 years, 4 years almost to finally get past it. But yeah, it was the worst. It's the worst.
I think, and I'm just having this thought now.
Just fall in love once and then never fall in love again, people. It is rough. It's a rough game.
That's advice from the outlaw right there. Now, if you tried it once and it didn't work, should you just stop, and just go like, hey, let's move on. That didn't happen.
Just if you're going to give your heart, treat the people you give your heart to well. That's the lesson that I
agree.
I would go back and shake that idiot back then and slap him in the face and be like, will you realize what you have in front of you? You utter moron. But then again, he wouldn't have listened to me back then. So
no, none of us listen. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's true.
Like we don't listen when we're the sad sack. We don't listen when we're like stuck on the person and can't let go. We don't listen when we're the virgin. We don't listen when we're Jay going around and sleeping with other people and ruining these relationships. And we don't listen when we're the stalker. like we don't listen.
Easy. I'm not the stalker. I didn't say that.
I didn't say you were the stalker. I'm talking about the movie, John.
Oh yeah, your movie.
We're talking about movies.
You said we. I was just got confused.
Sorry. What I was saying with the thing that I've been thinking about, and I don't quite there are all these things going on when you're thinking about going out with someone or dating someone. And one of the big ones is just your ego.
Yes.
Is that
100%.
when people want you, it feels good. And when they decide they don't want you, it feels terrible.
Right.
And so when my first girlfriend broke up with me and I was like 18, 19, I just moped for a year.
Oh yeah.
Because, and she wasn't, I mean, no disrespect to her, a perfectly nice person, but I was in love with being in love. I wasn't actually in love with her. And then when she rejected me, I was rejected by love. Mm-hmm. And that took me a long time. It was all about me. It really didn't have to do with my relationship with her or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm always envious of people who are very settled in who they are in relationships because they can handle breakups much better than those of us, as you said, because I'm in your camp too, Steve. I was a very romantic kid who was in love with love. And so whenever I was rejected by someone who I had started a relationship with, or worse, like the reason I was bad in relationships when I was younger is because I was poisoned by a lot of romantic comedies and romantic movies. Because I grew up a latchkey kid. I was basically placed in front of a television or a movie screen. And that to me was my exposure to love. My parents never really explained it to me. No fault to them. It just wasn't in their thing to do it. I'm not blaming them in any way, shape, or form. It was more just what I was exposed to. So for me, it was like, well, it's got to be magic all the time. How can we have it right? It must be that we're not right for each other, or that we're you need to change who you are to fit what I think is the right image of what a relationship should be. That's what it was. That's how terrible it was back then. And you don't know that the reason you're like that is because you have no idea of what it actually means, and no one's there to teach you. And so it isn't until trial and error that you learn as you get older and mature that, like, if people were going to break, sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's okay because it just wasn't the right time and they weren't the right person for you. But it's the hardest thing to accept when you really think they are the right person for you.
I think, I mean, again, this is what this movie is about.
Yeah.
Going back to that George Carlin thing, there are all these things that we have to figure out on our own that no one really talks to us about. And so it's like, like I said, I was 17 when I lost my virginity. I had seen the film strip at school where they said, here's your parts and this is how they work. And it was like animated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had seen some Playboys and a couple of dirty magazines. Porn was not the internet. It wasn't readily available. So my first time having sex, like a lot of people's first time having sex, is just, I'm figuring this out. You know, like you don't know how this works. And there isn't someone to tell you or guide you. And so there's just so much you have to figure out on your own, you know?
Well, there was for me at 20, she was 22. She guided me through it. But then you get involved with other people who aren't that age. And it is
well, I lost my virginity with a virgin. Like we were both virgins, you know? So nobody was guiding anybody.
It's a fumble fest. You're absolutely right.
I mean, it was okay.
I did my thing.
Well, this is, I mean, like, and what's really weird now, you know, and I hear a lot of this and I worry about it with my kid is now, you know, pornography is ubiquitous and there's a lot of weird shit. And I've had 1,000 times more conversations about sex with my kid than my dad ever did with me because my dad had zero. So it's easy to go past what he discussed with me. But like trying to say to my son, look, there's some stuff that you will see that generally people don't do things like that, or there's a lot of dominance of women. There's a lot of choking. There's a lot of like weird shit, you know, that I know my son is on the internet. I know he's 14. He's seen things like this now. And it's hard.
Well, I think, I hear you. But the other side of it is, which is something I've discovered recently, Steve, is that like, there's been a very strong pushback from the younger generations to have any kind of sex scenes be in any movies, that they see it as exploitive, they see it as unnecessary, and they see it as a cheap way of showing love. And so I find this to be fascinating. So, because I think all the people who are clamoring for sex to return to movies are people in their 40s and 50s. 20-year-olds and teenagers and even younger 30-year-olds are not the ones leading the movement to bring nudity back to movies or TV shows or whatever. It's the older people because they want to see that kind of stuff because they think it shows freedom, or they're depraved and they just want to see their favorite actresses nude. They want, or actors nude. They want that. But I think what I see and read is that younger generations don't think sex is that important, don't see it as a necessary thing to show nudity even on screen. And I think that's very interesting. At a time when we've got so much of it available, there is also a massive movement to not even want it. It's incredible.
I think it's a great point. I know that we're, kind of stalled on the movie in the middle of the poker scene, and we have to get to what Andy's response, and I want to, but I think this is actually really important. I think this is why when you suggested the film and particularly as I started working on it, I was like, there's a lot that we're going to have to get into. I think it's the availability that leads to this thing you're describing, which is that young people grew up with nudity everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know when my son first stumbled on something on the internet.
Yeah.
But my guess is he was pretty young because it's really, I remember one time I taught him, he was probably 3.
Right.
And I taught him that he could say something into Google to have it do an image search. So we would look for Spider-Man pictures.
Right.
Look for cute bunnies. And so you do that. And there was one time where he said, show me, and he wanted to see Dusty, which is the plane character in the animated movie Planes. Yeah. But he was like 2, and so it sounded like show me busty pictures. So first, like big boob showed up, and then he said something that had something about hot and wet in it.
Oh my God.
And he said, and it was totally fine. And I literally, but the way it came out of his mouth was not fine at all. And I had to grab the iPad out of his hand. It's like, no, So like, this is really, so it's really available. Whereas when we were young, it was the artistic movie that would show the nudity.
Yes.
Like, so it was like a sign of sophistication that you could ever, and it wasn't readily available for some movies, not for, I mean, obviously there was
and we had
Porky's and Animal, but I mean in the 70s. I mean, when nudity was first coming along in film, it was the more serious films. Right. And I actually think, I'm just going to say it the way I'm thinking it, is there's this really weird split in the world right now, where on the one hand, it's just as you say, this is exploitive and we shouldn't, this is, a bad things that we should do. And yet at the same time, the industry of hot people online is fucking booming, which means, and I don't know how many women, and there are men too, obviously, who are posing on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, but they have millions and millions of followers.
Yeah.
Which means that millions and millions of people are interested in looking at hot people, including me. I mean, what?
Hot people. Yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah. And so I think there's, Shakespeare says we need to put the mirror up against nature. And the fact is that sex and intimacy and romance and embarrassment and all of these things are part of nature. And so to me, to say like, we're not going to do films that explore these things, even when they get a little uncomfortable, is anti-artistic as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think with the hot people stuff, it's about the titillation of it, right? And that's I think was at the core of why we were so sex crazed as young people during that time. And I'm only speaking for the men.
We were 17-year-old boys with hormones going crazy through our bodies. So yeah,
but it was also that the stuff wasn't readily available. And you had to kind of like sneak in and get that paper or get the magazine or get your friends to buy the magazine or go to their house. I mean, like it's a joke that people make from back then, but like the National Geographics, you would get that because there were nude women from the different countries in the National, like from African tribes and stuff. You're like, it's all like this thing in your head of like, wow, what is this? It's a discovery type of thing. And so then you would discover the nudity, and you would, try to rent the R-rated tape from the video store and hope that they didn't catch you, or you would go to your friend's house because your friend's brother, who was older, recorded porn, and you would watch some of that. So there's little things that it made it dangerous, right?
Yes.
But now, because it's so readily available, I think that it's no longer that appealing to people because it's also readily available. What's the big deal? And so I think there's a big reason. I think that's a big reason why people.
I agree.
In the same way. But I hear you about the millions of people, because OnlyFans is big and that's a lot of nudity.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. I think it is clear, and based on your description, this is clearly Adam Smith. This is classic economics, supply and demand. When the supply was very, very small, if you saw a single image of a topless woman when we were in high school, that was like fucking gold.
Yeah.
You know, like I had come across a couple of magazines and they were hidden in my closet and they were fucking gold. You know what I mean? Because you couldn't get them anywhere. Like I couldn't buy them. They weren't available. Whereas now, where they're literally, you can just go through with your, scrolling one after another, thousands, they're infinite amount of images. And if you have an infinite supply, then the value of each individual image is low, so,
I mean, some of you might not remember, some of you older remember this, but looking up porn on dial-up, that was forever. That was
like you would wait. Image. It would draw it one line at a time. And you would be like, in an hour, I'm going to be able to. And there's the other thing about the one line at a time was that you didn't know if it was going to be good. You're going like, I think, and you see like the top of the image, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. This is pretty, maybe not so. I'm not sure. Should I keep waiting? Should I switch to something else? I've already waited 25 minutes to load this much. Do I abandon ship and start over, or do I just hope that it's going to come out okay?
It's like that gif of that woman who's like, yes, no, yes, maybe, okay, no.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
It was Kevin Nealon on Saturday Night Live. It's like, interested, very interested. And suddenly I lost interest. All right.
But we digress.
I think our digressions had digressions. I mean, honestly, we went deep. But we are right at the moment where Jay is begging Andy to tell a dirty story so they can get the horrible taste of Amy's ex-girlfriend and sweet love that he was talking about out of our brains.
I don't, you know what? I'm a gentleman and I don't kiss and tell.
Fuck it, I raised you. Nastiest shit you've ever done. I'm talking about nasty.
Wow. So many stories are running through my head right now.
Not this bad, obviously, but I have been this guy where dudes are telling their hooking up with strange women stories. And I'm like, I've been with the same woman for 15 years. I didn't date that much before then. I have no stories. And I'm trying to come up with what I'm going to do. To say, what can I say?
I dated this girl for a while, and she was really a nasty freak. She just loved to get down with sex all the time. She was like, any time of day, she was like, yeah, let's go.
And I like he's kind of convincing them.
She talk dirty to you?
Oh, she loved to dirty talk. Totally into it. She'd be like, yeah, let's screw. I want to fuck. God, it was so dirty.
It's really hard to describe what Steve Carell is doing through all of this.
It's like he described the making of the food. It's what he's doing. He's
exactly.
Right? He's describing the details of the sex in a very precise, orderly manner. It doesn't have the personality that it would have for these guys, right? But these guys also know this dude is a little more straight-laced, so they're trying to find the moments to get in on the story by encouraging, say, the things that he's saying. And then he goes that one step too far when he says that the breasts felt like a bag of sand. And that's when he kind of outs himself because he says too much.
You know, when you grab a woman's breast and you feel it and it feels like a bag of sand when you're touching it.
And first of all, that line is the origin of the movie. I mean, that's where the movie comes from. The breasts. And to me, it's like, haven't you given a hug to someone with breasts? Like, haven't like.
Yeah, but the pressure's on, and he's fumbling.
No, I do. Yeah. Then Cal, it's like you could see the slow realization come on.
Have you ever felt a breast before, man?
Yes.
Dude, are you gay?
No, I'm not gay. I've been with tons of women.
I touched a guy's balls at Hebrew school once.
Now that story I do believe from Cal.
I do believe that too. And they start to push him, and he starts to get defensive.
Yo, answer this question. Are you a virgin? Are you a virgin?
Yeah, not since I was 10.
And I love, like, Seth Rogen's so perfect of, like, going, Vince, you're a virgin.
I am. Shut up.
How does that happen?
He's a fucking virgin.
Oh.
I knew it. That makes so much sense, man. Look, he's a virgin.
Wait,
You
dude.
guys are hilarious.
All right. Come on, don't be mean.
I'm not being mean. I'm trying to help the partner out. I'm trying to say I want to get you laid, dude. I understand what's going on
You guys
here,
are
right?
so up your asses.
From now on, your dick is my dick. I'm getting you some pussy.
I mean, there are guys like this, especially when we were making this movie at the time. I don't know how many guys are like this now in 2025, but certainly back then, there was those guys who think that they've got to get you laid. It's their mission to get you laid if you haven't had any, right? Just like the same guys that are like, well, once you break up with somebody, you need to be going out having all kinds of sex as if that's going to really solve the problem. But some people really believe this stuff. So it's a fascinating entry point into this movie that this is it. It's their mission now to get him laid. And now we've got the movie's soul, the purpose of these guys in the movie, to try to get him laid.
I think two simultaneous things, and I'm curious what you think of this. The first thought I have is if this movie doesn't happen, if let's say right before they were going to have that poker game, the electronics store shut down, they all lost their jobs and they never spoke again.
Yeah.
So they just continued on their trajectory. I think that Andy is the happiest of these four guys. If he continues to be a virgin the rest of his life and just lives in his house and plays his tuba and collects his toys, he is happier than Cal, David, and Jay if they also don't change.
Possibly. But because it's all relative, isn't it? Like Cal probably thinks he's pretty happy, living a pretty happy life. The Paul Rudd character, I don't know. Yeah. But the Romany Malco character certainly feels like he is enjoying his life. He's having sex with whoever he wants behind his girlfriend's back, and he gets to have his girlfriend. So he's having his cake and eating it too, to a degree. Now, that being said, yes, I mean, the movie does make it feel like Andy is for lack of a better term, the better person here. But
send it for, I mean, think about it. Like, think about Jay's life.
But I also think Andy's a repressed guy who clearly is not comfortable in his own skin.
I agree.
Yeah, and that's so he's not happy.
Well, the second, so what I'm saying, my point, because that's my second point. I totally agree with you. My point is, like, if I project forward and nothing changes, Cal just continues to be a stoner. He probably loses his job. Nothing good, like his life gets worse and worse. Jay's is a serial, affair guy. His marriage is going to fall apart, and David is a horrible stalker. Like, if we project them, whereas Andy's just doing the same. But to me, the bigger point is exactly what you're saying, which is that I actually think Andy does need this. Like, Andy does, he will be a better person at the end of this movie for changing.
Right.
Absolutely. So even though I think he would be the happiest of the four if he doesn't change, it doesn't mean he doesn't need to change. He does.
Well, yeah, I agree 100%. But I just don't know if he'd be the happiest of the four because he might end up alone. And maybe he doesn't.
No, I'm saying he is going to end up alone.
Right. So maybe he won't be the happiest because that will come, because eventually the figures, all that stuff, it'll run out. It'll run its course. It won't bring you the comfort that you want to have. The thing about having, the thing about being comfortable in your own skin or enjoying your own company is all great. Right. But like being with someone is also an awesome part of life. And so it's like, this is what he will miss out on. So I agree with you. I think he needs this stuff to go on in this movie for him to achieve and find the person he wants to be with. But I don't think he'd end up being happy by the end. I think all the four of them would be equally unhappy in different ways. It's kind of how I look at it. But
I think
I hear you.
So
I'm just not,
yeah, no, we're not far apart. I think it is perfectly possible for someone who is to be completely self-realized, really understands themselves, be filled with confidence, and chooses to live alone and not talk to a whole bunch of people and be the happiest person in the world.
100%.
The reason and Andy has some of those things,
but not all of it. Right.
But the reason that Andy is living that life is because he has all sorts of negative things that he has to overcome.
Yes.
It's the negative things that are keeping him in his house.
Right.
It's like if you're staying in your house because you're like, I want to be in my house. I love this. Great. But if you're staying in your house because you're scared to talk to girls, not great.
Right. I mean, even from the opening moment when he walks in the stereo store and that blonde woman confronts him to help him, he's just like, so he's got to get past that. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why this is and it was funny. We started with the image of he has an erection he can't get rid of.
Yeah.
That is the movie. He has to learn important lessons in order to take the next step in his life.
Yep.
And actually, it's such a great structure because the idea of virginity, most people lose their virginity around the time that you and I did.
Yeah.
And it is a step towards adulthood.
Right.
Andy, on some level, is still a child.
And I love that the camera lingers on him as he's reacting to the guys. You can see and this is important because you want to care about Andy. So you have to see the pain in Andy's face. And it's great, smart comedy. Just when you think it's getting a little pathetic or maudlin, we cut to him on the bike, totally with the helmet on and the little rear view mirrors, and he's yelling at himself.
A bag of sand, come on, man. You can do better than that. God, me so horny, God, me so stupid.
So before we can slide into the Depression era state of comedy, they immediately give us something funny to laugh at. So it's just so smart the way it's done. So they give us enough humanity and then right into the comedy.
I love him just screaming no in his apartment as he's walking around. Then he lies in bed and goes,
it's gonna be fine. They don't even remember. Those guys are cool.
And then the dissolve to him unmoving in the same position in daytime going,
this is gonna be bad.
We've all been there. We've all been.
Rides his bike to work, shows up. When he walks in, nobody responds. He sees David, he sees Cal. They don't say anything. He thinks it's going to be okay. Not going to be okay. Not only the other guys at work know, they've got stuff on the screens.
Don't let them bother you. It's okay not to have sex. Not everybody's a pussy magnet. You, what are you, 25?
I'm 40.
Holy shit, man, you got to get on that. Life isn't about sex. Life is about children and passion.
And he has this whole speech about it.
Yeah, he does.
It's about connection.
It's all about connections.
It's set about cock and ass and tits and butthole pleasures.
It's not about butthole pleasures at all.
And then we get into, and this was, to me, John, this is like the early days of the internet because
I knew nothing about any of these terms. Nothing.
This is time. I can remember we were shooting an episode of Siren. Oh no, you were on set, but we shot a night shoot and you played like a henchman. I think. Yeah. And Vogel was a henchman and Mike Ross was playing one of the main characters. He was playing the nerdy guy.
Oh yeah.
In The Office. And it was Mike Ross, of course, who had gone on whatever website back in the early 2000s and had the list of all the filthy sexual acts and their names.
It's not about this rusty trombone and the dirty Sanchez.
Please stop.
And the Cincinnati bow tie.
Moosh.
And the pussy juice cocktail. And the shit-stained balls.
Moosh, just please stop.
Yeah, I guess maybe. I don't recall that at all, but I'm sure we had that conversation. I just remember this movie, like putting it all together. And then, because this scene's not in the original cut. So
right, this is an extended one.
When I watched it later as a deleted scene, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I had no idea. And then later, I discovered the Urban Dictionary, which a lot of people were way ahead of me on, and all these terms. I'm like, Jesus Christ! I had no idea all of these terms.
So Andy freaks out. This is his worst nightmare. He runs out. David chases him. They're outside.
You know what? I respect women. I love women. I respect them so much that I completely stay away from them. Okay. I have a very fulfilling life.
And then they cut to him like we've been talking, painting the figures, marching with the drum, the tuba, all that stuff. Play video games.
I just love that Andy chases him to all the different levels of the mall. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, if you've ever been to outdoor malls, it's amazing where he chases him through. By the way, I was thinking to myself, like, as I was watching the film this time around, like that scene where they're showing like all the naked or all the women in the music videos and car washing and putting soap on their butts. I'm thinking, where's Jane Lynch? And then she shows up and says, "What do you think about a virgin?" So she is like one of the boys in a way, and I think it's hilarious to have that energy again in the movie. But yeah.
And then in the midst of talking to David, this other guy who works at the store, Aziz, comes out, and he is an interesting actor, John.
Yeah, I mean, how do we say? Because I don't want to get our show in trouble here, but he went to jail. This guy was funny in the film, but he went to jail, I think, for killing his girlfriend, and it was pretty insane what ended up happening. So yeah, he was found guilty in December 16th, 2010, of premeditated attempted murder and assault with a deadly weapon. He was sentenced to life in prison for stabbing his ex-girlfriend, Kendra Beebe, 23 times, but he was released in 2018, having served the minimum term. So he is out and about, this guy. So, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about this at all.
Yeah.
And now I'm a little scared. But anyway, we're done with the scene with him, and we're having coffee with David and Andy.
When I was young, I tried, and it didn't happen. And then I got older, and I got more and more nervous because it hadn't happened yet. And I got kind of weirded out about it, and then it really didn't happen. And then, I don't know, I just kind of stopped trying.
So this is what's so weird about this movie. I think as I've said, we've said these are not the best guys, these men trying to give Andy advice. Yeah. David, I would say, is the worst of them because he is literally acting like a stalker. I mean, it is pretty abusive and scary. Yeah. But I actually think his advice, he's the warmest and most supportive on some levels for Andy.
Yeah, that's what makes him a confusing character because I think he connects with Andy because he himself was probably a bit of a nerd. And I think the reason he is so stalkerish about Mindy Kaling's character is because, like, to him, this was love, the first love. And so when she broke up with him, for Mindy Kaling, it seems like this is, hey, we got together, it didn't work out, wasn't the right thing, I moved on. But he thought it was way bigger than it actually was. And so that's why he's obsessed with her in this way. But yes, he has a softer, sentimental side to him. So he connects with Andy on a more human level than Seth Rogen or Romany Malco's characters, for sure.
I went out with this girl for 4 months, and it was the greatest thing in my life. Until she went down on this guy in an Escalade, I think. And, instead of like saying, okay, what am I doing that caused this behavior? I dumped her. Stupid decision. I spent the last 2 years of my life regretting it.
Sean, what do you think of this monologue?
I've been this guy. That's the situation. But but clearly, again, as I said, this wasn't a big deal to her, their relation. Only 4 months and you're this obsessed for 2 years. It happens because he has a lot of unaddressed issues around relationships. That was my thing, is that I had a lot of unaddressed issues. So like I would, once I fell in love and it fell apart, I would just be I beat myself up all the time about it. And you would send the emails, hey, I fixed this. Can you come back? Let's try again. Or send them a message or whatever. And of course I had the reverse. Whenever someone was like more into me than I was with them and I would break up, they would send me stuff. So you play both sides. If you're in enough relationships, you're on both sides of that kind of equation, depending on the situation. But yeah, so to me, it's interesting though, because he's saying all these things, yet he's the guy who is caught up in this cycle of stalking, as you said, but he's the one that's saying you got to take a chance. You got to put yourself out there. So it's ironic.
Let me ask this question, and of course I don't know the answer, but back in the day when he was dating Amy, and let's say he was still working at the store and still hanging out with Cal and Jay, he's in the middle of dating her.
Yeah.
Does he say to them, I'm dating the most amazing girl, we have the most incredible connection, everything is perfect? Or was he bitching about her and the relationship wasn't perfect?
100%. 100%. But because it was
100% which?
Oh, sorry. 100% he was bitching about her all the time and the relationship wasn't perfect. But once she left him, see, the thing is, people are also, and this you discover as you get older, like I didn't know this when I was young, but like there is also a power dynamic in relationships.
Yes.
I can leave you. You can't leave me. If you leave me, then all the things that I said that were imperfect about the relationship, I'm not going to remember them. You beat me to the punch, so you won. Now, this is infantile. This is absolutely stuff you have to work through in therapy or however you want to work through it, and understand that pride in a relationship is useless because you have to understand what the bigger picture is. And sometimes when you get broken up with, you're caught up in the pride of it, and you forget that it wasn't that strong of a relationship to begin with, but you wanted to be the one that dumped them, not them dump you. And that goes for all genders, by the way. Everybody participates in this game that way.
No, it's exactly what I think. I think that what this construction of this relationship is what happened in his brain after she broke up with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it became the most special thing in the world. So the origin of my relationship with Karen, that I'll say very quickly.
Yeah.
I obviously had no game talking to women. I'd had a few girlfriends. I was really good at talking to women as a friend.
Yeah.
So I could totally, but I couldn't cross that line into making it flirty or whatever. And so I spent years pursuing Karen, during which time I became weaker and weaker and weaker. And the weaker I became, the less attractive I was. So the needier I was, the more she wasn't interested in me. And then I got mad at her because she dated some other guy, and I was very pissed off about it. And that is when we hooked up. It's when I ceased, being desperate that suddenly I became attractive.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, who is this guy? And then I was really confident in the beginning of our relationship. And then she became very doting and weak, frankly. And I was like, well, this isn't the strong person that I fell in love with because she was too super into me. And so I broke up with her.
Right.
And then she became weak and needy and desperate to be around me. And I didn't find that attractive at all. Yeah. And I wasn't interested in her at all until she said, fuck you to me, essentially. I'm not interested. And then I went, oh, you just became interesting again. Like it's nuts. We're nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. But, for all the hell, I personally went through, I ended up with a pretty amazing person.
You did.
You get lucky sometimes. Not everyone, it doesn't happen that way for everybody. But I think you also have to put in the work, and what you're talking about, Steve, you're so right. It's like we're all so messed up in relationships. Judging each other, I think, is at times a useless venture because we're all fucked up. And you know what? We see what other people do in relationships and we judge them and we forget the stuff we've done in our relationships.
We're doing it all ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a crazy little world, relationships. That's why this film has more going for it than this.
Yeah.
It's not just a Porky's comedy. It's more.
I love the complexity in the way David is looking at all of this stuff.
But hey, that's her journey, I gotta respect that. I gotta give her the space. She wants to be some immature little bitch and blow everybody. That's love, man.
Oh, Jesus. He's so messed up, man.
And you and I have both been in this discussion in one frame or way or another,
Of course it's horrible, it's suffering and it's pain and it's, you lose weight and then you put back on weight and then you call them a bunch of times and you try and email and then they move or they change their email, but that's just love.
Yeah, Dave's a little fucked up right now.
It's terrible.
Do not be Dave. Do not be Dave.
I think this movie does just enough. It's like you catch a glimpse through the crack of the door of what Dave has actually done. But it doesn't let you look at it for long enough to mess up to mess up the movie,
Yeah, I had a friend like this. We're not friends anymore, but they would go back and forth with this girl, and it was crazy. It was so bad that the girl asked me to help her with the situation. And I did my best to tell him like, hey man, you should move on, let her go, this kind of stuff. But, he would go into her emails because he still had her password and he would read her emails to see if other men were contacting her. And then he would leave them as unread. He made very clear to leave them as unread. And it was crazy. And you know what the end of the fucking story is? They ended up together. So it was so crazy. And I stopped being friends, or we stopped being friends because, it just wasn't the right situation. There was a lot of stuff that went on there. And it's like, man, this is too crazy. So yeah, relationships are nuts, man. And people are nuts in relationships.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, as far as I know, because we don't talk anymore, they ended up together, which was a really kind of shocking moment for me because his ex was begging me to help her get the message across to him that she was never going to come back to him. And because she was in so much pain and he was in so much pain, I was like, yeah, sure. I'll keep assuring him that it's not going to work out, that he needs to move on. And when he told me that he was reading her emails one night, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I would never even think to do something like that. But like, people do it. And that's how crazy it is. So you're right. A glimpse into, we really don't know how deep this goes. It's a comedy. We don't know how deep this guy has gone into his stalking of Mindy Kaling's character after only 4 months. Like, it's crazy.
It's I mean, it's so funny your story, which is upsetting. That's pretty much Jay and Jill in this movie. The implication is they live happily ever after.
Yeah, right.
There's no comeuppance for Jay. They doesn't they get married.
Yeah.
Come out with us this weekend. No pressure. We'll just have a good time.
Okay, yeah, I will. I'll give it a shot.
Great.
But I am not going to have sex with anybody.
Good. Sex should be the last thing on your mind.
Cut to, I'm sure you had this. I'm sure you must have had this moment. There's a moment for me, and I'll just put it the way it feels to me. When spring comes to Los Angeles, and they're just suddenly particularly if you go through Beverly Hills or West Hollywood or something like that, and you're like, look at all these outfits. It's like they're all here for me today. And that's what Andy gets to experience out in the world. Everywhere he looks, beautiful women, body parts, anything implying sex. Right down to a little dog humping another dog at the end of the scene. And some of this is only in the extended version. We get a montage of his quote unquote sexual experiences or near misses.
Yeah. Which I think are hilarious.
One of which is the woman with the most scary braces in the world about to perform oral sex on him. Does not go well. We have trying to take a bra off, which I think might be the extended scene. Does not go well. We have another girl who wants to suck on his toes. Apparently, this stressed Steve Carell out more than any other sex moment in the whole movie because, I mean, he really carefully cleaned his toes to make sure that there was nothing nasty, and then he kicks her in the face. Then let's go to the club.
Yeah.
It was so funny because I don't go out to clubs anymore, and I was just watching this going, oh, yeah, we used to do this all the time.
Oh, yeah. Going to the club and all that kind of stuff. 100%.
You about to go run down some drunk chicks, all right? Don't confuse that with tipsy. We talking about drunk. I want vomit in the hair, bruised up knees. A broken heel is a plus. That's what you want to find, okay?
I have heard this advice given, or variations on it.
Believe it or not, in every man, there's a code written that says, tackle drunk bitches.
No, you know what? I don't feel comfortable hitting on drunk bitches, you know? I don't think that's right.
Okay, hold up, dog. First of all, you making it out to be some kind of bad thing.
Well,
I didn't use bitches in a derogatory sense. You did.
I just want to point out that I think this is actually a true linguistic thing that I am not capable of understanding, if that makes sense. I will never use the term bitches because I'm not confident that I know how to use it in a way that is, John, non-derogatory.
Yeah, I would never, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But there's some people that feel you can.
Sure. They're not the co-hosts of this show.
That's true.
But I also think this is an interesting, right? As you said, it's an interesting dichotomy and linguistically with men and how they use certain terms in certain ways. So, yeah.
Well, and the next moment is a discussion on using your peripherals. Look, I'm just going to say this is real. This is a real thing. I've literally never had a conversation with a guy about it. But I am certainly aware of my peripheral vision and the uses it might have. Sometimes it's looking to make sure my son isn't misbehaving. Sometimes it's looking to see when the appetizers are going to come out. But maybe I use them for other things too. Yeah, I have peripheral vision.
Sure. You taught that in the military for sure.
Yeah. And it is funny with them both staring at each other and Steve Carell trying to see what's going on around him.
Now with your peripherals, you got to scope out a hot drunk chick, and then you just make your move. Okay?
Yes.
All right. And remember, it's more important that she's drunk than she's hot. For this first one, go get her. Peripherals, though.
I would like to point out that this is the most ridiculous club ever. Like in no club I've ever been to, and in no club that these four jerk-offs would go to, are women drinking shots off each other's stomachs or making out just blatantly out in the middle of the club. Like, this is nonsense. But it's done for comedy, of course. But these four would not have been let into any club. Looks like this. Maybe a dive bar down in the back end of Hollywood somewhere, but not in a club that looks this nice. No way.
But by the way, one of the technical things that's really not done well in this, and part of it, I think, is maybe they're pieces from the extended versions that they didn't do as good an audio mix on.
Yeah.
The audio mix is terrible. Because what you do when you're shooting a club scene like this, as we discussed before when we were talking about watermelon, what was it? Watermelon, the words that you say.
Watermelon cantaloupe. Yeah,
we were talking about watermelon cantaloupe, is that in general, you're not going to have anybody make any noise in the background.
Right.
Or you might have them do Watermelon Cantaloupe if you need to have them do that. But most of the time they're silent, and then everybody yells as if there is music and sound and crowd noise in the background, and then you bring in all that noise at post because you recorded it all silently.
Yeah.
Well, in order to get that right, you have to, it's not easy to create the real active environment of a sound, and it actually has to hit at the right level so that the level that they're yelling at seems appropriate. So if I have the sound too quiet and as people are yelling really loud, it just doesn't feel right. And if you watch this whole sequence, you'll have moments where it's working okay, and then it seems like, why are they yelling like this? Like it really, the mix is not done technically well. Part of it, like I said, might be from the extended scenes when they brought some of those in, they didn't bother to mix them well. And then let's head over to a bachelorette party.
Let's do it.
And we say, you know, like this is his best odds going to the bachelorette party. And I you know, look, I've never been in. Oh no, I have been invited to a bachelorette party. I have been to one.
Okay.
With Jen, our friend Jen in Vegas.
Oh, right.
That was a joint bachelor and bachelorette party, and you could go to either side of it. And then he ends up talking to Leslie Mann, one of the bachelorette party people, also Judd Apatow's wife.
Yeah, she's great. This is probably my first remembrance of Leslie Mann here as well. And fuck me, I've had this conversation. I have hooked up with this girl before, so this is a few times actually. This is a legitimate thing, and it's so. And I've never gotten in the car with a person like this who's driving, but certainly this. Well, you know she's super drunk, and you're just like, you know, I might have a shot here to make out with her or whatever. And so, so this is very realistic. Let me just tell you,
I've been here multiple times. I was there once with you, where we were with a group of guys.
Oh wow!
And there was a drunk woman at
Skittles.
Yes, it was Skittles.
Skittles. Oh, this is legend. You guys are getting this.
Well, I don't have honestly. I don't have the details. I was pretty messed up.
I still have pictures of Skittles.
See, this is it's literally, we brought up this idea before of a dude night.
Yeah.
This was on, I think, the very first dude night when we went to see, in this era, The Hangover.
Yeah.
And we were at Big Wang's with 20 guys.
Yes.
And this one very drunk, somewhat attractive woman came up and was flirting with all of us.
I just like to verify that Steve is the one who said she's somewhat attractive. I did not think she was attractive at all. Like, for the record.
Well, I don't have pictures, so I haven't seen a picture of her in 20 years. But yes, no. And I had a situation once in Chicago. I've been in like where you're just like, and what's so funny about these nights where you're just like, it's like the, you know, you can't look at it, but you can't look away.
Yeah.
And there's this weird sort of, this is a bad situation, but I want to know where this goes.
Right.
Like, where's this going to end up?
And I don't know, obviously, because we're two dudes talking about it, I got to respect the female audience who's listening to us as well. Like, I don't think women have the same interactions. There's not some innocent drunk guy that's like stumbling around and you're going to take advantage. Like, I don't know if that's necessary, because most of the time it's like a boorish drunk guy who is hitting on them repeatedly and annoying them and being whatever. So I don't know if women have the same experience. So I can only speak to the male point of view in all of this. But yes, agreed. And for those of you who want to know about Skittles, maybe we should make that a short.
I honestly don't remember a lot of details.
Oh,
so.
I do. For the $10 and above level, we should make that a short for just the $10.
Sure. So maybe there's a possible Skittles short coming up.
So jump now. Jump up.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, and to be very clear about what this is.
Yeah.
You're talking to an attractive person in the case of Andy.
Yeah.
She's not, everything she's saying isn't necessarily crazy.
No.
So she's intoxicated, and you're trying to figure out, like, what is this? Where could this go? What's going to happen? And she's rambling about Dan, the guy that's getting married.
Who she clearly is in love with.
He sounds like a good guy.
Oh, I hated him for like 2 years because he cheated on me.
Oh.
Did he cheat on her with Robin, who she's now getting married? Just wanted to be clear about this.
100%.
Yeah. I think that Dan is her Amy, by the way.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
You have really kind eyes, you know that?
Thanks. Your hat is sequins.
Seth Rogen picked out that sequiny hat. That was his choice. And this is how this is going. So again, they have a script-ish.
Yeah.
But then they're doing improv. And so Judd, in the middle of the scene, yells to his wife, grab Steve's ass, which she does. There's a lot of Judd telling his wife things to do with Steve Carell. That's just weird, you know, but that's the job.
And Amy's a great comedian. A great comedian. Oh my gosh. I love her.
Your hands on my belt.
What?
Your hands are on my belt.
I'm sorry.
That's good.
You're cute. This is kind of lame. You want to get out of here?
And I like, you know, he slaps Jay's hand on the way out. It's like he's going to get laid.
He's skipping the the fact that she takes 3 fucking shots before they walk out.
Good point. Good point. And Steve Carell's reaction shot to that moment is great.
I love that she takes the 3 shots and she goes, fuck. And he's like, fuck. Yeah. Okay. And so that's the thing. So like clearly she's heartbroken over the whole situation, and she's gotten drunk just to deal with the fact that the guy she loves is going off with this other woman that it was probably her crew of friends, and that, you know, he cheated on her with. So she's got a lot of like insecurity and sadness going on. And she just wants to hook up to feel better about herself, right? Because of the situation. And it's so funny, but she's a lost little soul here, which is why she's drinking. And you would argue maybe even a little self-destructive to be getting in the car this drunk, you know?
Oh, not a little. I mean, like I don't know. I mean, what's so funny is
she's a mess.
It's just, I think as you get older, I hope you and I, you're much better at like seeing the train wreck before it happens.
100%.
And going like, you know what? I'm not going to get on this journey.
Oh yeah.
I know where this is going to end up.
Right.
Andy doesn't have that experience.
No.
It's like if you're with the girl and she does 1 shot and you're like, cool, let's go. Yeah. We're doing shots. Fantastic. 2 shots. Great. If she, while already drunk, does 3 shots in a row, you say, hey, I just remembered I have a thing. I have an early morning squash game. I got to get going.
Squash game. Yes, exactly. Yes.
They head outside. She's clearly drunk. She asks him to drive. And he goes, I don't have a car with me. She goes, and I love, she goes, all right, that's okay. I just got to suck it up. And she does this little sober myself up shake. That's so funny.
Dude, we've all done the sober myself up shake.
Yeah.
Or slapped ourselves to think that somehow we can become sober in that way. Oh, it's such a great little touch. But this is what separates the great comedians from comedians. Because it's such a perfect shimmy shake that she does to kind of get herself, okay, now I'm good. It's so fun.
And I love Steve Carell's kind of walk. I'll call it the walk of acceptance to the car, which is like, and we've all had this moment where it's like, there was a moment to stand up and say no to a thing. That moment is now past. Now you're in the situation.
So true.
And you have to keep going. I mean, he gets in the car.
Are you drunk?
No, I didn't have anything to drink.
Blow into this?
She goes, blow into this and hands him her breathalyzer. She says, the judge recommended I get one.
This girl's a mess.
Which, to be clear, I'm guessing the car won't start without a clean breathalyzer test, right?
Yeah.
And then she starts. I just think, by the way, the PT Cruiser is a funny car. That is a great choice for this car.
It's a perfect car for this time, 2005, man. PT Cruisers everywhere in LA at that time. And usually women were driving them.
Yes. You know? It has a very specific, you're right, it is this specific era. And she's dancing and driving and swerving and singing, and he's just white knuckling the whole thing. And she's bitching about Dan, who left her.
Don't ever be named Dan. Dan rhymes with man, and men jerk off, and he was a jerk off.
Leslie Mann's so great. I know. She's really, really funny.
I mean, the lasso thing while she's driving the car. I mean, come on. It's all of it is genius.
There's apparently, so she wanted to get, I understand, a really realistic drunk. She wanted to know, this is serious research here. So she's not drunk here. What she wanted to do, she wanted to know what she was like when she was too drunk to handle her shit.
Wow.
So Seth Rogen, I believe, said, I'll take you out drinking. And he just plied her with alcohol all night. I do not think Judd Apatow was with them, and videotaped her getting drunker and drunker and drunker.
Wow.
And part of that is the origin of what we see in this scene.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You could totally see the moment where she pukes in her mouth and has to swallow it.
Oh, dude.
I think I ate some bad shellfish sandwich or something.
Ew. Oh, this is like PTSD, man. This kind of shit. Oh, man. The stuff we put ourselves in, the situations we put ourselves in sometimes.
Pieces that taste like sausage. This is, by the way, this is another thing that we don't talk about is that people they taste like something.
Yes.
They have tastes, they have smells.
Yes.
You know, some of the smells are unexpected. Like not necessarily that they're bad. They're just like, oh, this is your smell. Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Some of the smells can make a difference whether you stay with that person or not. 100%. Yeah.
And I'll say Steve Carell is a person who can just be funny. Just watching him react to her driving is hilarious. And then her, like, you're not looking at me? Like, you don't think I'm pretty? Like, all this is like, oh my God, it's insane. And then she essentially just passes out. The car starts scraping against cars, and he reaches over, as you do, and grabs the wheel. And she wakes up and is mad at him for grabbing the wheel.
Oh, off the wheel. Jeez. Not gonna get my pants acting like that.
And then right into, I'm starving. Let's get some fucking French toast.
Oh, it's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And then we've made it home, and it's a huge accident. And I love the car stops spinning, and the first thing she says is,
Fucker came out of nowhere.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I'm lost in my PTSD of these experiences, man. Oh.
Well, we'll take it one more level because then she pukes right in his face.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And I love his reaction where he says, I felt like I kind of deserved that. I had a comment or something like that.
I'll still have sex with you if you want.
You know what? I think I'm going to pass on the sex, if you don't mind.
By the way, I think 2 out of the 3 other guys, maybe all 3 would have sex with her after.
Yeah.
Cal definitely would.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Jay would too. I don't know if David would.
Right.
But maybe. If it was Amy, he definitely would.
Sure.
By the way, there is a deleted scene of him getting arrested, of the cops pulling up, and she makes him sit in the driver's seat to make it look like he was driving, and then he gets arrested for drunk driving, which I'm really glad they didn't put in the movie.
Yeah.
We're on the loading dock. He's telling the story to the guys who are, as you do, breaking fluorescent light bulbs on each other's legs, which, by the way, was Adam McKay's idea because he was around and helped on some of the ride. And and basically he's going, it's over. And Jay says,
let me just say, you are putting the pussy up on this pedestal. You're just building the pussy up, man.
This line, and again, I'm just going to use the language that is in the film, putting the pussy on the pedestal is an improv line from Jay that really becomes a running theme on the movie, and I actually think becomes a thing that people said a lot right in this era.
Well, yeah, because these guys don't get it. Right? They think they want to, this is something I experienced too, even though I had a lot of sexual experiences. I was always kind of caught in the romantic thing. I was always looking for the romantic thing, right? Back then. But I was in the military. I was around a bunch of dudes who could, get a lot of women and whatever. So it was always that kind of thing of like, no, man, you're revering the woman too much, right? Which I think is a dangerous mentality, especially nowadays. When you're younger, it's that kind of thing that, everyone's fucked up, but male, female, it's all fucked up, right? So you're just trying to figure out whatever gender, you're just trying to figure out how well you fit on it. But these guys are well-meaning guys, but they're kind of dumb about this kind of stuff and where they're trying to steer Andy to throughout the movie. And this idea of like, oh, you don't want to listen to the guy who is cheating on his girlfriend, who, by the way, seems like she's pretty loyal, about like, oh, you don't want to put the, for his term, pussy on a pedestal or whatever. Like, it's that kind of thing. There are always these guys that are trying to like make it seem as if don't revere the woman, don't revere these women. And I always thought it was a stupid mentality back then. And I think it's a stupid mentality watching it in the movie now, but they're supposed to be stupid in a way, so Andy is the good one because Andy's actually looking for something real. These guys are lost in their ideas of just getting laid. He's looking for he's looking for a partner. And these guys are not looking for a partner. Even Paul Rudd's character is not looking for a partner, even though he's stalking her because, as you said earlier, which I think is really smart, is he's in love with love. So he wants her back to be in love with love. Because I don't think they end up together anyway at the end of the movie, even after the movie's over.
So I'm going to try to thread this needle. You know, I told the story of me pursuing Karen back in the day, and that it was a friend of a friend, a guy named Ken Hooper, who's a really good comic book artist. And Ken Hooper looks at me in my sad, lame travails of years of pining after this person, and he basically says, take all that energy that you're putting into her and just put it into yourself.
Yeah, sure.
Like everything that you're doing, and and this is the thing about again, I'm just gonna use the term, the put it pussy on the pedestal. The idea is I actually think there's something here, and then it gets taken to this other place that's really negative.
Yeah,
which is that it is Andy believes on some level that women are not human, that they are a different species, and that he is therefore incapable of talking to them. And he, even on some degree, because he's insecure around the guys and around everybody he deals with, is he thinks that there's something wrong with him and that everybody else has figured shit out that he hasn't figured out. And therefore, it's not just that he's putting women on a pedestal, he's put all people on pedestals.
Yeah.
And I remember I was working on a movie set, the first film that I made called Stonebrook, when I was in North Carolina. And I just had this moment of like, oh, the nature phrase of they're just as scared of you as you are of them finally made sense. I'm like, oh, they're all humans. Everybody is insecure. Everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants a connection. Everybody wants to feel attractive. And everyone's doing all this stuff all the time. And when you put people on a pedestal, because I was definitely putting Karen on a pedestal, you deny them their humanity and you deny your own humanity.
Yeah.
And so I totally think they're saying something in the right direction. But then the problem is, and this is totally the era of The Game, right?
Yeah.
That book. Is that the idea? Is it called negging people and all this? There's all this stuff that comes from this idea that is negative and horrible and awful and demeaning towards women and terrible.
Yeah.
But the basic idea, and I think there are women, I won't say that they put the cock on the pedestal or something, but there are all sorts of women who walk around super insecure and thinking they can't talk to that guy when in fact the guy is just as insecure as you are, you know?
Yeah.
And they do go into much more detail, including a Greek goddess named after this particular body part.
It's Pussalia, right?
Look where you going.
I don't want to say the word anymore.
Say what word?
Pussy.
Fuck
I don't
it.
want to say it.
Pussy is a scientific word.
And they continue to break glass on each other's legs.
Yeah. They're not intelligent dudes.
Yeah, no. I mean, that is because the really stupid thing is they're the ones who are gonna have to clean up all this broken glass.
Right.
You know, it's not like they're doing it somewhere they're not going to get caught. This is real dumb. We go back inside and Dave promises they're not going to pressure him. And there is Catherine Keener inside the store who plays Trish. The entire story about how she got the part that I heard is Catherine Keener was their first choice. And they asked her and she said yes. And that's how she got the part. And they didn't ask anybody else.
Yeah, they didn't think she was going to do it. And then I think they were on an elevator or something. And then he pitched it to her. And she's like, hell yeah, I would love to do it. Because of course, she came from the world of indie film. So they thought, oh, she wouldn't be into doing a role like this. But she was so happy that she got asked and she was excited to do the role. And so I think, again, another essential casting to making this movie work. And she's great. And they have such nice chemistry, her and Carell.
She makes this movie.
Oh,
I mean, she really, everyone's great, but she is so down to earth and real.
Yep.
And it's the reality of their connection that if that wasn't here, this movie fails.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, the way Catherine Keener, from what I remember from the oral history, the way she got in this, and this is her words in the article. She said, "My agent called and said, there's a script. I'm not sure how you feel about it. It's very out there." She thought it was funny. Then she said, "It's Judd Apatow and Steve Carell." And I was like, oh my God, I love them. I loved Freaks and Geeks. I loved Steve Carell on The Daily Show. And so I read it and thought, they're so smart. They're going to do something with this that I don't know yet. I called her the next day and said, I want to do it. So it was just that simple, Steve. Her agent pitched it to her. She loved these guys. She read the script and was 1,000% on board.
And I love that Jay and all of them, they just kind of abandoned Andy. So he has to talk with Trish.
Yeah.
No hablo English, lady.
Oh,
I actually am helping a customer right now, but
okay. Well,
I'm on break, but our stock supervisor is very knowledgeable. He can answer all of your questions, and he'd love to help you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too. Great. Okay. Hi, I'm Trish.
Hi, Andy is my name.
This one looks pretty good.
Oh, you don't want to buy that VCR.
I don't?
And then he says exactly what I would have said at this era of you should have a DVD player and the technology. And he recommends that VCR combo, which is what I bought for my parents at this era. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that he is comfortable joking with her because he says,
You know, that technology would be probably pretty good for
6 months or so.
Yeah.
That's good.
at best. Sorry.
and she says that she works right across the street at a store called We Sell Your Stuff on eBay. Do you remember these really existed?
Totally remember the eBay stores. Yes.
Yeah.
And totally had the one with Jonah Hill has, where I walked in because I didn't know about them. I walked in and I grabbed something and I wanted to buy it. And they're like, no, you have to go on the eBay. I go, that makes no sense to me. But okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I love just the little joking. They joke about the store and why she buy the store.
So why do you have a store?
I don't know. No, I think it's because, you know, I want to maybe look professional and not like a crazy person who's just going to steal all your shit.
I didn't mean anything by that.
No, it's okay. You know what? You should come by sometime if you want, you know.
All right.
And she's so cute. It's really cute.
Well, and he's like, he's not asking, another person might be offended by Andy's questions, but he's legitimately asking because he's curious. And she is, and look, and all this stuff that Seth Rogen is going to have him do with Elizabeth Banks in a little bit, he's already doing.
Yeah.
Asking her these questions. He's engaging in conversation with her, you know, so much so that she gives him her number, you know, and it's very easy. And this is the thing. This is a lesson I didn't learn until later in life, because sometimes you're pig-headed and you're stubborn, but like when it's real, it's easy. And when it's not 100% there, you're trying to force the square peg into the round hole, and you'll convince yourself that there's something about accomplishing that is really important into the relationship. But the truth is, when you're supposed to be with someone, I believe, it's easy, it's simple, and you're doing things that you would never normally do because this feels instinctually and organically right. And there's it doesn't mean you don't have disagreements, doesn't mean you don't have occasional fights, but there's not the drama that you had in the past, you know? And yeah, I think that's one of the crazy things about watching this scene between him and her. It's very similar to, you know, when Lindley and I got together. It's like, it was so relaxed and so matter of fact that I was just like, wait, this is what I've been hoping for. And I've been trying to make it be this with other people who were clearly wrong for me. And I was making them wrong at times for not being right for me, which was wrong of me to do. And in the end, that's what you learn is like, you've got to just be yourself. And for me, therapy was really important to get me to a place where I could be relaxed and open and confident that I was a good partner for someone. But all these other things are in your mind and they confuse you if you're not strong enough to understand that. And I think that's what's so great about this film is that they show you that for all these guys and their advice and all this stuff, and yes, as you said, Steve, there's some elements of truth behind all the other stuff that they're doing, but it really is this relationship here. And we see the glimpse of what's to come in this interaction because it's so easy and relaxed and fun.
I totally agree. There are people, not just of the opposite sex or not just the people that you're romantically interested in.
Yeah.
But there are people who I have met and within 30 seconds, I've gone, oh, I get you.
Yeah.
And not only that, not only do I go, I get you, but I feel like they get me.
Right.
And it happens really, really quickly. And it feels so good. And when you don't have that thing, then all the other bad stuff comes along. And I remember having an epiphany. This is a good decade ago. But there was someone a friend who I was having trouble scheduling time with. You know, we have certain friends who can be very busy. And I remember talking to Steve Jones and going, oh, you know what? The people that are your really close friends should really want to spend time with you.
Of course.
It shouldn't be that hard.
Right.
And so that means that that to me, the reason I bring it up here is like, he immediately talks to Trish and he immediately feels like I want to spend time with this person.
Yes.
And she immediately feels like the same thing with him. It is easy. There's not an ego thing. There's not a status thing. There's not all the stuff you have to overcome, you know?
But he had to get through the drunk girl first.
Yeah.
Come back
Yes.
the other
Yeah. I
side.
had to have that experience.
I mean, I think she gave me her number. She wrote down her number, but I think she gave me her number.
Oh no, she gave you. Dude, man, I just see. You still mad at me?
No, I was never.
Right? You see what I mean?
No.
Yeah, we gonna celebrate it, man. Yeah.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I love that Jay gives him a hug.
Yeah.
Because he's grown up. You growed up and you growed up and you grows up. To cross the streams a bit.
Nice Swingers reference. Yeah, I do. I mean, these guys are messed up and they're kind of stupid, but they do care for Andy.
They do.
In their own messed up ways, they do care for Andy and they're actually cheering for him. And so that's the crazy part of it all.
And so I think at this moment, as they're about to go off and celebrate, Andy getting the number from who is going to be the love of his life. And really, in a weird way, this is the perfect moment because this is the goal. It's like, this is the lost ark. This is the thing that Andy must achieve by the end of the film.
Yes.
We have gotten there. And so I think it's a good time to end part one of our exploration of the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts. John and I shared a lot of stuff in here. So if you can certainly comment on that. And if you have your own stories that you want to share about relationships or any of the other things we covered, we'd love to hear that. You can visit us on our Facebook page. Just do a search for The Cine-Files. It's Cine_Files on Twitter. It's The Cine-Files Podcast on Instagram. As we said at the beginning of the show, if you want to support us, it's patreon.com/The Cine-Files or Apple Podcasts, where you can get ad-free versions of the show as well as our Cine-Files short, our advisory board, and of course now anyone at the $10 and above level can ask questions about any of the films we cover on the Cine-Files. You can also subscribe to the show at all the usual places. Please leave your comments on Spotify, your reviews on iTunes or Apple if you haven't already. You can buy or stream The 40-Year-Old Virgin along with every other film we've ever reviewed. And if you want to reach me, it's SR Morris on Twitter and SR Morris1 on Instagram. John, how about you?
Yeah, you can always find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Blue Sky, all those places. And my YouTube channel, please, youtube.com/John Rocha Says. We're so close to 40,000 subscribers. If you haven't sampled some of the stuff over there, we'd love to have you come aboard and enjoy some of our conversations and our reviews and our shows, like the Hot Mic, the Geek Buddies, Spill the Tequila, and The Truth. And the Jedi Way occasionally is a lot of fun as well. So yeah, thank you so much. This has been a blast. And I can't wait to get back into the rest of the movie with you on part two, Stephen. We hope, because we gave all the trigger warnings, we hope we haven't upset anybody. We hope we haven't offended anybody's feelings or anything like that, because we're trying to honestly cover the movie, but also, as we always do with every one of our movies, give our own personal experiences and our own personal points of views on these things. So we hope we've walked that line deftly for you all.
And we are going to continue walking that line, hopefully deftly, and we won't fall into major traps as we continue our exploration of the 40-Year-Old Virgin next week, right here on The Cine-Files.